you if you want to
I'm
record.
recording sometimes.
Okay.
You watch it. Normally I'm a train wreck.
Sometimes they get long as heck.
No, you're pretty good.
Train wreck. I'm a pretty good train wreck. I'm good to watch. See,
No, you explained the content really well. I didn't mean you're a good train wreck.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not. At least it's enjoyable for other people to watch. It's like the other day I walked into the class and I waved to Nellie in the back of the class and I tripped. Like, whoa. Like I was like walking one way and my head was going the other, and just the level of like, so just like how much of a klutz do you have to be? Just anyways. Okay, so were we here? I don't think we were here. This is the beginning, isn't it? No.
Yeah, this is like the way beginning, I think.
I was on the oh god.
I think you're on the right one.
I am. I've
She's
okay.
not doing the curves, right? I just want to make sure.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so first off, so this is basically a chart that's stating like what affects the total atrial O2 count or content. So if it's in the plasma, if it's PO2, what is that directly? What are the factors that change that, most generally speaking?
Isn't that the rate and depth of breathing?
Well, no, the PO2 is basically the amount of oxygen that's dissolved in the blood.
Right.
So basically what I'm asking, maybe I did it weird, but so the PO2, when you're looking at someone's PO2 or the content of of oxygen in the blood, that should be 5 below the pressure of oxygen in the alveoli. And if that is lower, right, significantly lower, let's just say you have 105 millimeters of mercury in the alveoli. I don't even know if that's the thing, or the pressure. I don't even know. I think that's how you determine the pressure. Anyways, I'm sorry. I don't know the unit. That's what I'm trying to figure out. The unit of the whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, so there's 105 in the alveoli and there's 80 in the bloodstream. That's low. That's bad. We don't want that because that's very low. So because it's not dealing with the hemoglobin, it couldn't be a problem with the hemoglobin. That's what I'm trying to.
Oh, would it be the gas exchange that's the issue?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Or diffusion? Okay.
It would be diffusion, gas exchange. There's something wrong with the lungs. There's something wrong in the lungs. It's not the hemoglobin. Something wrong specifically with the lungs. So if she asks you a question, which she will, 100%, I guarantee, she's going to ask you a question. She's going to say, what is a factor, or what is not a factor that affects the PO2? So what is a factor would be the thickness or the diffusion distance. So if that's big, if there's a lot of distance, then that's not good. If there is less in surface area, that's also not good for gas exchange. If they said there's airway resistance or lung compliance. What?
An airway obstruction?
Yeah.
Would be.
Mm-hmm. Because if you can't get oxygen to your alveoli, you can't assist in gas exchange. So that would be a specific thing to that. And what she said is that the PO2 or the oxygen dissolved in the plasma is usually directly related to the saturation of hemoglobin, unless you have something wrong with the hemoglobin. Like if it's not binding, like if there's no iron, right? Like if you have low iron, or it could be that you have sickle cell anemia. There's things that could affect, or you have aplastic anemia where your long bones aren't producing red blood cells or more so the hemoglobin that comprises the red blood cells. So those are all things that affect the oxygen bound to the hemoglobin, but it does not affect PO2 because PO2 is the oxygen that's dissolved in the plasma, not like bound to hemoglobin. You got me?
Yeah.
All right. So this is just showing you that the chart is just saying the total arterial oxygen content is basically made up oxygen bound to hemoglobin and the oxygen dissolved in the plasma. And the oxygen dissolved in the plasma, all these things can affect how much oxygen is found in the plasma. And sorry, there's like noises and I don't know who are and the oxygen bound to the hemoglobin, that's obviously defected of the oxygen bound or saturated. The oxygen percentage is bound to the hemoglobin or whatnot. The PO2 and how that's directly relational, and the number of binding sites. So if you have less hemoglobin, then you're not going to have enough binding sites. So basically, but she said that she's only going to pretty much, this is going to be a major what she's going to ask because she wants you to know that if somebody tests you a patient for PO2, that kind of can see how well their lungs are doing with gas exchange. All right, so defects, she said you don't need to talk about this. So carbon dioxide. So she wanted to simplify this, at least that's what she said. So I'm not gonna like talk like I don't want you to get caught up on like the minute details a part of gas exchange or like part of this process, okay? So the carbon dioxide is transported in 3 forms, okay? One is it's dissolved in the gas, or it's dissolved gas in the blood, just like PO2, it's PCO2, and that's very little amount. And then there's one that is binds to it binds to the hemoglobin, but it binds directly to the hemoglobin, but it will basically bind to a better extent to the deoxyhemoglobin, not the oxyhemoglobin. Okay, so if she asks you, does CO2 bind more so or to a higher affinity to the deoxyhemoglobin than the oxyhemoglobin, what would you say? Would that be true or false?
True.
It would be true. And basically there's no competition between the oxygen and the CO2. And it makes up about 23% of the carbon dioxide that's transported to the lungs. And then there's a third form, which is the most common, is basically your carbon dioxide basically joins with oxygen and it forms carbolic acid, and that basically when it comes into contact with carbonic anhydrase on the red blood cells, because there's abundance of that on the red blood cells, then it turns into bicarbonate and hydrogen. When it goes to the lungs, it's going to drop off, right, the carbon dioxide and try to basically give it so that the lungs can diffuse and gas exchange can occur. Okay, so like that's basically what's happening. And the thing about the hydrogen is it's important because the hydrogen, sorry, hi Marnie. Anyways, so there's a hydrogen in that basically is on the red blood cell. So when you have more carbon dioxide, you're going to have more hydrogen molecules because of this process. And that's what makes the acidity of the blood higher because of that hydrogen. Okay, I hope I explained that well. I get all nervous. We tried. So this is just explaining of what's going on. And basically the CO2 dissolved CO2 whatever, we don't know. Dissolve CO2. I'm guessing this is showing you the process. Oh, so okay. We tried. We're good. We don't need to look at that. It's so ugly. We don't need that. We don't need that in our lives. So I'm just looking. Yeah, this is basically all explained. Occurs slowly in the plasma, but quick in RBC due to the presence of carbolic anhydrase, and basically that turns it into the carbolic acid, and that dissociates into the bicarbonate and the hydrogen. Yep. Okay. All right, so this is just showing you that CO2 is dissolved in the plasma. It's also combined with hemoglobin to form, this is the name for it if you want to know, carboamino, yeah, oh gosh, carboamino hemoglobin. When you can't remember how to speak and talk, that's great. And then basically the produces the bicarbonate and the hydrogen, and there's a chloride, but we don't need to know about all that, so I'm not going to even talk about that. And it's like, that's all chemistry, and I just try to forget chemistry as much as possible because like I will like die if I ever see chemistry again. But you know, some people are better than it at the others. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much basically what it's saying again. And she didn't talk about a lot of this because she wanted, okay, my favorite part, guys. Okay, so anything that's below 7.4 is acidosis. Anything above 7.4 is alkalosis. Okay, and there's two things that we're going to talk about in regards to this. And there's many other different types and how it can get to this place. But respiratory acidosis would be when the body, it has more CO2 than it wants, and it has a more presence of the hydrogen ions, and that makes the blood more acidic. So you're going to need, your body wants to do something to stop that. So what it will do to get to basically accelerate gas exchange and make it faster, it's going to make you breathe more and more so that you can get more gas exchange to get the CO2 out of your body. And basically your body has a response to that, and it will do other things to try to compensate as well. So then we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
I have a question real quick. So like for acidosis, you need high elevation of carbon dioxide and the free hydrogens. So both of them are what makes your blood acidic, like what makes you
So no, it's only the hydrogen
okay.
is what makes it more acidic, because basically how to determine acidity is the presence of hydrogen molecules. That's like the term, I'm guessing. That's at least what she's explained to us, is that it's determining how many hydrogen molecules. And hydrogen, its antithesis or the opposite would be bicarbonate, because that's basic. And how do we know this? Well, because in the stomach, the lining, the mucosal layer is bicarb so that it can neutralize hydrogen. Isn't that so cool that it all relates in like your body? I don't know. I'm such a nerd. I'm sorry. But it's so cool. It's so cool. Anyways, so basically that's what your body uses to basically the acid and base balance to keep it even keel. It's actually, I mean, it's not neutral. I mean, it's good for the body. It's 7.4. So I don't even know. It's a little bit more basic than neutral, but I don't know. Who knows? We don't know.
I think I answered my own question because I remember the hypo and hypercapnia, and that was due to elevated CO2, or that's what I was thinking of, but never mind.
No, but that's so right. It said on the PowerPoint that the hypercapnia and hypocapnia are the two most common causes of acidosis and alkalosis.
Okay.
So during alkalosis, when your blood pH is above 7.4, which there's ranges, but it's above 7.4 in this instance, then it probably your body, so let's just say you had a panic attack and you start breathing really heavy, and I should already said this, but then you're gonna try, basically you need some level of hydrogen ions, which are is of CO2 basically. And because of the lack of CO2 in your blood, there's a lack of hydrogen ions, and therefore, because of this, your blood acidity is going to go up, because no, your blood basicity or whatever, it's going to go up, which doesn't mean it's acidic. I didn't mean it like that. I mean, it's going to go up, and that means it's more basic, which sometimes it gets me confused because I feel like acid should be up, but it's not, it's down. So because it goes up, it becomes more basic because there's a less presence of the hydrogen molecules, which makes it more acidic. If you don't have those, then it's going to be more basic. So that's probably, you guys probably got that like 10 times over. So you probably know that part. You just, we tried. Yes. Morgan, what's up?
I got it. I'm good. I'm just taking it in. I'm listening.
You're dying, but you're listening. It's important.
Yes.
So if respiratory measures fail to restore normal levels, then this will probably happen. And basically during respiratory acidosis, what's going to happen to your pH? Will it go up or down?
Down.
It will go down. Okay, so your body's going to try to compensate for that by doing what?
Hyperventilating.
Yes. And in respiratory alkalosis, would your pH be higher or lower?
Higher.
It will be higher. And what would your body do in order to compensate for that?
Not hyperventilate. Like,
It would basically, you'd slow down your breathing, hypothetically.
yeah, that would be with like the paper bag and everything.
Yes.
Okay.
But your body, I mean, it's kind of hard because if you're having a panic attack, that's one way where you can't, you basically, it's mind over matter. You have physical, you're having anxiety attacks, so you can't really I mean, I've calmed myself down, and probably other people have too, but if you breathe too fast and you can't do that, then somebody needs to be there to be like, yo, you got to breathe, or you got to do something, hand them a paper bag, a trash bag, I don't know, whichever you can get your hands on, to make them basically breathe back in. That's carbon dioxide. Hand them a mask. All right, so now there's metabolic acidosis and metabolic alkalosis. And what does metabolic, what is that, like, basically what is it talking about? Is it talking about carbon dioxide or bicarb? Carbon dioxide. Well, yeah, or hydrogen or bicarb, but yes, basically which one?
Bicarb.
Bicarb. Okay, and it's there. So metabolic acidosis can happen a couple ways. Okay, but what is one of the most common? Well, so it happens, it's called ketoacidosis, and I remember it very vividly from my nutrition class. And basically what happens is your body, when your cells stop taking in glucose, your body will break down fats, and basically a part of fat, or to basically make a fat a glucose molecule, it has to break off these a keto body or ketone. And ketones, they're basically very acidic. They're very acidic. So if they break off and they start circulating the blood, eventually it's going to get more and more acidic. The blood's going to get more acidic. So what your body does is your body tries to compensate by producing more and more bicarb, but it can't produce enough. Okay, so it will start just becoming more and more acidic, and the acidity, the pH will lower, and your body will try to compensate in some respects by elevating your blood, by low, wait, 1 second, remember. Yeah, so it elevates your blood, your gas exchange, or it makes you breathe more so that it basically can get the carbon dioxide out so that the hydrogen ions that are making it more acidic, your blood more acidic, that can go out so that you don't have as much acidity in your blood. If I explained that in any way that made sense, I hope I did. It was a little wonky there for a second, but we tried. So basically, your body will try to compensate for the acidity by the respiratory and try to make it so that your pH can lower a little bit. But it doesn't do everything, and that's why people with diabetes will end up in the hospital pretty regularly if they don't monitor their glucose levels and all this stuff. And people with type 1 diabetes is really bad. It can get really bad, and they can end up dying from it. Okay, so metabolic alkalosis, less common. It's the presence of too much bicarb, usually by antacid, which makes sense because if we think back to our previous units, right, the bicarb, basically the mucosal layer in the stomach is made out of bicarb, and bicarb neutralizes the hydrogen ions in the hydrogen pump that pumps it into the stomach. So when they take the antacids, it basically neutralizes the chyme in the stomach and allows it to be less irritating, which makes so much sense. I was thought about that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Anyways, and vomiting, which is a loss of stomach acid, I guess I think it's a symptom. I don't know. Yeah, it's a symptom, I guess. Or if somebody gives somebody bicarb intravenously, that could be also another thing. And what do you think? So if in metabolic alkalosis, the pH will go up. And if the pH goes up, then what would your respiratory response be if you had one? Would it make your breathing slower or faster?
Can you repeat the question one more time? If what went up?
So in metabolic alkalosis, if your body decided to compensate for that in another way via the respiratory, would your breathing go up or down?
I want to say down.
Yes, it would go down because it's trying to keep as much hydrogen and carbon dioxide in your body so that your acidity can go up of your blood. Okay, so this is what I was talking about before. Respiratory, due to abnormal CO2 levels. Metabolic, due to abnormal bicarbonate levels. Like I said before, primary disturbance may be compensated by another system. Like I said, metabolic acidosis by a ketoacidosis, right, by the ketone bodies, because that's the one, because of the glucose and it's break down the fat and all that stuff. That will result in increase in ventilation so that they can get the carbon dioxide out so that it can stop producing the hydrogen ions. Well, as many, I guess, or like stop or like lower those levels so that it can raise the pH because it's too low. We don't even know that. Isn't it great? We love that. Ventilation. So like I said before, we didn't really talk about the respiratory component. Oh, and I wanted to say this. So the metabolic component, it's regulated by the kidneys. The kidneys chooses whether to excrete or keep bicarbonate, and normally it should always keep bicarbonate. But in cases of metabolic alkalosis, it's going to try to get rid of the bicarbonate because it's too much. There's too much bicarbonate. Okay. And in terms of respiratory acidosis, I can't remember. Oh my gosh. There's too much information in my head. Respiratory acidosis. No, it's trying to keep it. Okay, so in terms of respiratory alkalosis, it would try to get rid of the bicarb because it's too basic. But that's like, yeah, I guess, yeah. So it's too because the blood is too basic. Or acid. I mean, not acid. Basic. It would be basic. All right. See how I'm going crazy? You see that like crazy, like those crazy? Yeah, it's there. Okay. So, and the metabolic is regulated by the kidneys, and the respiratory is regulated by the lungs, which just makes sense. And it refers to the CO2 blood concentration, and that's directly correlational to the hydrogen, because when you have bicarbonate and hydrogen, and when it dumps the CO2, then it will keep the hydrogen and therefore making it more acidic the more CO2 you have. And yeah, we went through this. Oh, yay, it's fun part. Okay, so basically it's explaining everything that I said. But I did notice that a lot of people were struggling with the examples. So I figured that, I don't know, would you like to go to that website and do those? I haven't,
Yeah, that's fine.
with my 1.5 million tabs. You could never find it, but it's probably somewhere here. Oh gosh. Oh, and I'm pretty sure I was the person that was listening to the video on the Zoom. Morgan, did you know it was me?
No, I think it was Tilly. I think she said something that she was watching the video and she was saying like, "Yeah, we can hear you." And she was talking to Berry Hill and she's like, "Why is she in here?"
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I thought I was listening to the other video the whole time. So
I kept checking my mute button because I was watching TikToks and I was like, "Oh my god, maybe they're hearing what I'm like listening to."
Oh my gosh. Which one is it? Which one do you think it is? There's like 1 million.
I don't know. I honestly haven't checked my
I
messages.
Is it an announcements? Does anyone know? I remember I clicked on it
I think she probably
right here.
sent it. Yeah.
Okay, so with a pH of 7.27, is that low or high?
That's low.
Okay, so it's low. And the PCO2, the normal is 40. So is that low or high?
High.
That's high. So the bicarb is 22, which is the normal is 24. So is that low or high?
That's low.
Okay, that's low. So if in chances of so right now we're dealing with something that's acidosis. You got me? So the two things that could make something more acidic would be high CO2, right? Because the more CO2, the more hydrogen, right? Make the blood more acidic. Or it would be low bicarb, because low bicarb makes it more acidic because the presence of bicarb makes it more basic. So in this case, I love that. That makes me so happy. Okay, so I like how there's like two of the same. Is that normal? We can't remember. I don't know. Does anyone know the normal? I don't think it's normal. What do you think?
I want to say that, so it's increased in CO2 and the normal is 40, so that means it would be
High.
more acidic, like there's more CO2. So I want to say it's the bicarb that's making it making the pH like acidic. I don't know. This is what confuses me.
No, but the thing is it would probably be the respiratory acidosis because of the fact. Well, I don't even. Wouldn't there be more? I don't get this because if there's that's the part like I don't get. If there's more CO2, that means it's more acidic. If there's less bicarb, that means it's more acidic. So in this
So
case,
could it be both?
would it be both?
Because I would think that
That's
if
what I would think. So how
I
do you check it? What do you write? Both? Like how do you do that? Like both?
yes, because like I would think that if there's a higher CO2, wouldn't there be a higher amount of bicarb to try to compensate for
Yes.
that
Yes.
higher CO2?
Yes. And wait. Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So if there was yeah.
Can I ask a question just to like refresh?
Oh, I remember. I think it's what you said before because yeah, it goes 80. I'm sorry.
No, you say it first, what you had in mind.
Okay, so if maybe it's metabolic acidosis because in that well, no, I don't know. Zadie, go, please.
Okay, so my question was,
I don't know.
when is it respiratory acidosis and when is it metabolic acidosis? Because
Okay,
I'm
so
lost.
yeah, I got you. So metabolic acidosis is when the bicarb is there's not enough bicarb. Wait. Okay, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Now I'm second guessing myself. This is great. I love that.
Isn't it excessive?
Excessive? It probably is. It probably is. See, when you can't remember yourself, it's pretty sad.
On slide 62, it says excessive ketone body production. And
Well-
then metabolic alkalosis of too much bicarb.
Hmm. Well, you just said alkalosis. You mean acidosis?
No, metabolic alkalosis is too much bicarb.
Well, alkalosis is when the pH is above 7.4.
Yeah.
So this one's below. It's 7.27.
So that's below. Okay.
So I get what you mean. So the excess ketones that's talking about basically when fats, there's a part of the fat that will break off to make it into glucose so that the body still gets glucose, and that ketone body is acidic and makes the blood more acidic. So I'm guessing it would be respiratory. I don't know.
Let me see. Okay, 7.2 is acidic. So which one of them is making acidic? If we have the CO2, it's higher, that's making it acidic. So that would be a respiratory acidosis. And then CO2,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The bicarbonate, it's 22, which it was supposed to be 24. So it's going down. But wait, if it's going down,
Both? Wouldn't it be both?
it's both. It's actually both. Respiratory acidosis and metabolic acidosis because
We don't need to make
it's
both.
both.
It's
Yeah,
gonna
it's both.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. We came in I came in late. What?
I know.
Say normal.
Level of compensation, you said, oh, because you said,
Oh, because the range is different here. Oh, that's why.
Study. That's gonna mess everybody up.
Oh well, whatever.
I have a question. What are we reviewing today?
Okay,
So the answer is respiratory acidosis.
but only because these are ranges.
Like she gave us different ranges to go based off of. So like this website's gonna mess us up if they're giving us different ranges to look at than
Yeah.
what she's telling us.
So what I'm gonna do something different then, because that's just gonna mess up
she
something.
sent one that it's really good. Is that the one that you were using?
Yeah.
That one I did really good.
So what are we going over today?
We're going over respiratory and renal.
Starting from the beginning. Oh shit, we're here.
No, starting from the last class.
Okay, that's good. That's the one that we were reviewing. Yeah.
Not intro.
Non-intro, no. I just went to this page so I can write down a bunch of values.
Ah.
You guys can like go on your phones while I do this because it's probably gonna take me like a minute. Page. I mean, not that I don't think that. I mean, I think you were engaged. I don't think you were on your phones. I mean, I'd like to hope. I mean, before. Like,
Bicarb. I have some examples to give you if you want.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so one example, it's you're gonna put for the pH 7.3. You're gonna put for the carbon dioxide 50. And you're gonna put for the bicarb 32. That's one of them. We have a lot, like we actually did a lot of them. So we have a lot of examples if you want them. For
I do.
example, 40 for, I'm not sorry, for the pH 7.1,
Yikes.
then CO2, I have 40, and then bicarbonate 20. So I have 7.5. I have 38 and 23.
I think we should do 5.
Yeah. You want one more?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you probably this one. No, that one I gave you already. Okay, so 7.3.
Okay. I'm
And-
doing this one. Go, just go. It's the
that
same.
one. And then for the PCO2, it's gonna be 41 and then 25.
Okay.
Then you want one more? Let me look for
Yes,
more.
ma'am.
Okay, so I gave you 7.5, 7.1, so I could give you another one, 7.5.
Okay.
So we're gonna make that one 7.5. Let me go to see the examples. So I'll make it this one. So what it's okay, let's do the bicarbonate 26.
Y 34.
And then 34. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm like, you already know what I'm trying to do.
I
Get
know,
out of my mind, girl. Get out of my mind.
Our minds are connected, Jocelyn. We've been studying for so long.
We went to sleep actually at 2 a.m. yesterday and the day before yesterday. And we were planning to do the same because we didn't know the meeting was today. We thought it was on Thursday.
Yeah.
No, Thursday's Thanksgiving. Are you crazy?
Girl,
I forgot about that.
this point of my life, I celebrate Thanksgiving the day after the 30th.
You're right.
Yeah.
I celebrate it on the 30th. Just get out of class and go shake some shots. Just kidding. I mean,
Oh
don't-
yeah, that's me.
However we come out, we're
Don't
celebrating.
I'm drinking so much. I'm filling myself up with so much alcohol.
do not support drinking. I'm not. All right. Okay.
Who's having most problems with this out of the shot? Okay, so you're gonna do, like Marnie Web. I don't know how to say the name.
Marniqua.
Yeah,
Or
just
you can call her Marnie.
do one by yourself. And I'd rather just put you in the spot and do it because I'd rather you have it wrong with us than on the test.
Yeah.
Right.
I already know them, so I'm just
You're on your own, girl.
people.
Marnie,
Yeah.
we're with you. We're fully with
We
you.
will help
We're like We are in this with you. Okay, so everyone can come back if you're on your phones or doing whatever. You probably were already listening to everything we were saying, but that's okay. So I put the values of the normal above the pH, above the PCO2, and above the bicarb in case any of you forget. Okay. And I really want you, so first thing that really helped me was looking at the pH first. Because depending on the pH is what you're talking about. And you have a 50% chance of getting it right as long as you know the pH. So you just got to pay attention to that. So in this case, so the first one is 7.24. Marnie, is that a high pH or low pH? Is that acidic or alkaline?
Acidic.
It's acidic. And so if it's acidic, so that means it can only be acidosis. Now, if we look at the values, we have PCO2. Is this elevated or normal or lower?
I want to say low or normal.
So it's around normal, but it's a little elevated. It's a
Okay.
little by 1, which is really nothing.
Okay, so normal would be 40.
Yes.
Yeah, so she said like if it's 40,
Anything above,
40
it's
point
gonna be more. Anything less is gonna be less.
exactly. So if it's above like 40, even by 1, it's gonna be elevated.
Yeah.
Elevated.
So what
Okay.
does CO2 elevated does?
I have no idea.
So CO2, like I was talking about before, it has hydrogen. And what does hydrogen do? Hydrogen makes it more acidic. Okay.
Yeah.
So the keeping of more CO2 means your blood content is more acidic. Okay.
Right.
So what is that CO2 41? Is that more acidic or less?
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yes.
bicarb. So this is 25. So is 25 elevated or lower? The values, the normal ones are
It's elevated.
it's elevated. So if it's elevated, what does bicarb do? Does it make the blood less or more acidic? I mean,
More.
so it makes it less acidic the
Less
more you
acidic.
have. So you
Less.
want more bicarb if your blood is more acidic. Your bicarb is going to be higher to compensate for the acidity.
The first thing that she needs to know, I think, before doing this chart, the first thing in the world that you need to know, it's CO2 is acidic, bicarbonate it's basic, it's alkaline. So whatever that is more bicarbonate, it's gonna make you more acidic. Less bicarbonate, it's gonna make you less acidic. Bicarbonate, it's gonna.
No, it's vice versa.
Yeah, you guys switched up. Bicarb. Yeah. Just,
Okay. Okay. So
first,
when it's more, it's less acidic.
Yeah. In relation to bicarb, so
Bicarb.
the more you have, the more bicarb you have,
more alkaline.
the more alkaline your blood you're trying to be. So, or you are. So if you have a high bicarb, you're going to have high alkaline. Your blood's going to be more alkaline, which means more basic.
Okay, so if you have a high bicarb, it's more alkaline, and if you have a less, you have a low bicarb, it's acid.
Yes, a little more acidic.
Okay.
And what about the carbon dioxide? If you have a lot of carbon dioxide, how's gonna be your pH? Acidic or alkaline? A lot of CO2.
If a lot of CO2, it'll be more acid, right?
Yes. So less CO2, your body pH is gonna be a little bit more alkaline.
More alkaline. Okay.
Yeah, more alkaline. It's just like you have to take a minute to think about it because we actually spent like 45 minutes yesterday doing a whole bunch of them, but you're gonna get it.
I need all the videos. I was in the car driving. I'm in Georgia, so I know my grandmother's sick.
Want to give it a try to the first one before we continue? Do you want to give it a try to see what it is?
Okay. Which one? The next ones?
No, this right here. So if it has a high CO2 and which means that it's more acidic, and the pH is more acidic, would you think that it would be dealing with respiratory problems? It would be, because of the fact that if there's more CO2, that makes it more acidic, and because the pH is lower, which means it is acidosis, then you're dealing with CO2. Because if we look at the bicarb, it's elevated, and if bicarb is above 24, that means that it's trying to be more basic. So because of that value, this value right here, this is telling you that it has to be the 41. Okay, because of the fact that if you have more bicarb, that's not making it or causing the blood to be more acidic. It's causing it to be more basic. So in this example, you know that you're dealing with the respiratory because of the fact that the CO2 is elevated, which means there's more hydrogen, and bicarb is more so, but that makes it more basic, not acidic.
So would it be respiratory alkalosis?
Acidosis.
Acidosis.
Acidosis. Okay,
Once you find the pH, just put acidosis so you don't forget, and then find out which one's the problem. So PCO2 is the problem. Whenever you have a problem with CO2, it's when that one's causing the problem, it's respiratory. When
respiratory
bicarb it's causing the problem, it's metabolic.
metabolic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can we do I want to do one where metabolic is the problem.
Well, let's keep going and let's see like what.
Yeah, we can't tell you.
Put it all together, yeah.
You'll get one. You'll get one in there.
So the first one was respiratory acidosis.
I already did all of them, and there's metabolic in there, so don't worry.
Yeah, I try to put it.
Okay, so for the next one, Marnie,
Mhm.
is the pH acidic or basic?
It's acidic.
Okay, so would it be alkalosis or acidosis?
Acidosis.
Acidosis. And if we look at the values, which one are they both elevated? They are. And
Yes.
which one, so if it's acidosis, if the CO2 is elevated, in which it is,
Wouldn't that be respiratory?
yes, it would be. Because if you see that these are, with the last example, if you even compare it, because these are both elevated, okay, and that makes it more basic, not acidic. So this could be the only cause.
The only cause, which is respiratory. Okay.
And the only cause
Fast.
if you got it, the only cause now after you got the first part, why is bicarbonate making it more alkaline? Because it's trying to compensate acidosis. So that's another question. Is it trying to compensate or not? Yes, in both of example, it's trying to compensate acidosis. But you first have got to get that first part in order to move on. So now you could understand that both of them are trying to compensate the body pH.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Morgan said also she had problems, but I don't know, like doing it.
Now that I'm listening to it, I'm getting a little bit better, but if you want me to do one, I will. But
Morgan, come here. Come do one.
Yeah, do the second one.
okay.
All right. So the next one. Well, Marnie, you guys can both confer together. You can like deliberate. I think it's so. Yeah, is it acidosis?
Second one, the same as the first one. It was respiratory acidosis.
Yes.
Acidosis.
Okay.
Why don't we let them try and do it by themselves? Like,
Oh,
see if they can figure it out.
Yeah, I won't even talk.
Yeah, don't just let them do it.
I'll sit here and do nothing.
Okay. The first one is the pH is
Acidic.
acidosis,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second one, the CO2 is normal,
Yep.
and then for the bicarb is low. So would that be metabolic? No.
Yeah, I think it would be
would-
metabolic acidosis because
Acidosis.
bicarb is obviously lower than its normal range, and there's no more CO2 for there to be more like hydrogen ions, so that wouldn't really like have an effect on it. Wouldn't be respiratory, it would be metabolic, like you said, acidosis.
Yeah, and is there anything?
And I have a question. Is there any compensation?
No.
Perfect.
Yeah.
If there was
Yes.
compensation, wouldn't the PCO2 level be lower?
Yes.
Okay.
acid lower to make it less acidic.
So what is the respiratory system like doing if the PCO2 was lower?
If it was lower, you're gonna complicate this thing. I could answer the question, but
No,
you're gonna complicate it for them.
If the PCO2 is lower, what is the respiratory, let's say the PCO2 is lower, what is the respiratory system going to be doing to compensate?
When it hyperventilate, like wouldn't it?
No,
Hyperventilation.
it'd be lower, slower.
Oh,
Be-
slower. I need
Because
to write that down.
When it's lower. Oh, when it's lower. Yeah, hyperventilation.
Hyperventilation if the CO2 is lower.
be
Yeah,
hyper.
hyperventilation because you want to keep it in. And hyper, it's when you want to take CO2 out.
Wait, we're talking about C is metabolic acidosis, correct?
Metabolic
Yeah.
acidosis.
No, then your respiratory system would compensate by doing hyperventilation to get more CO2 out because you want to increase.
Exactly.
Oh.
Metabolic acidosis, hyperventilation.
It's
Yeah, no, as Marnie was right, it'd be hyperventilation because you're trying to get more CO2 out to compensate because you want less hydrogen ions.
Exactly. You're just basically know your respiratory rate's going to increase. Like that's how she said. No, is your respiratory rate going to increase or decrease? So yeah, Marnie's correct. It's hyper.
Well, that's good. Whenever we're having a respiratory problem, the kidneys are going to be doing a response for that. And then whenever we have a metabolic problem, the respiratory is going to try to compensate.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to get even deeper than that, but I think.
All right, so the next one is 7.5. Is it alkaline or acidic?
Alkaline.
Okay, and is this low or high?
Low.
Lower.
And is this high or low?
Low.
So which one of them makes it more alkaline?
Wouldn't it be the, I don't even want to say it wrong. Is it the pH? I don't know.
The
So
pH you already know. You're just comparing CO2 and bicarbonate. Which one makes it more alkaline?
So
I
the
would take the lower.
The 38. The CO2.
So the pH, okay, it's elevated. And
It's elevated.
if less presence of carbon dioxide, that can cause the pH to get higher because there's less, right, carbon dioxide, there's less
Right.
hydrogen ions, and the bicarb is lower. And if the bicarb is lower, that means that there's less bicarb, and that makes it more acidic.
Oh, I want to change my answer. So it's going to be the bicarb that has more effect on.
Why would it have more effect if you already said that 7.5 it's alkaline and 23 it's gonna be acidic? So you
Isn't
don't.
it trying to like lower? Isn't it trying to get to its normal pH?
Yeah, but that's a compensation. That's not what's causing the problem. Remember, first thing you're gonna say it's what's causing the problem. If you get confused on that, it's gonna destroy you on the test. You're not gonna put the answer based on what it's trying to compensate at all. You're always gonna put pH and what is causing.
It's confusing, Jocelyn. I understand why. It's so
Yeah, it's same.
when we're talking about this, the CO2 is the one causing the problem.
Mhm.
Because a low CO2 makes the blood more basic. Your bicarb, if it's lower, means that it's basically not making it more acidic. It's basically making it more acidic, not more alkaline.
Yeah.
So it would be the CO2 would be respiratory alkalosis because of the fact that there's less carbon dioxide, which means there's less acidity. The bicarb is just, it's really not doing much. I mean, it's getting low. I mean, I guess it's getting lower to compensate for the, yeah, because it's basically getting lower to make it less basic because it's already basic, or the CO2 is making it more basic. It's just compensating for it. But it's the respiratory because of the fact that low bicarb makes it like, okay, when you confuse your own self.
No, it's respiratory because it's dealing with CO2. Because
Yeah.
CO2 is the problem.
problem.
Yes.
Say something.
Can you change the 34 to 43?
At the
No.
On the bottom.
The bottom. No.
No, no.
No,
That one's 26. That one's 26.
I'm
Or
kidding.
see CO2 and says 34 on the last example.
It's supposed to be 43. That's what I'm telling her.
This one right here.
Yeah, 43.
Okay.
Sorry. It's
No, Jocelyn, are you dyslexic? Is that?
No, it was me. I made the I made the. It's just hard sometimes to make the numbers. It's complicated for me.
Okay, I don't. It's fine.
So, can I ask you guys a question?
Yes.
So when we're doing this, we have to look at the pH first. That's what you guys say, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for that example we just did, it's the 7.5, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's basic.
Yes.
Okay, so and a normal CO2 would be 40.
Yes.
And if CO2 is lower, that means it's not acidic. So your blood is not acidic.
Yes.
The normal HCO3 is 24. So when you have more HCO3, that means you're basic. Your blood is basic, right? Because
Yes.
it's a
Go too
Yeah.
acidic.
No, she's saying she's saying bicarbonate.
Higher
Which
Higher
yeah, it's H2CO3. That's the chemical like
yeah, it's bicarbonate.
yeah.
Yeah, you're totally correct.
Yeah, she's 100% correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you look at the pH and you look at what would make, like what how would I put it? Like what matches with that pH, what would cause that problem?
Yes.
Okay, now I get it. So that would be respiratory alkalosis.
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
and the HCO3, I'm guessing the kidney would hold on to the HCO3 and not release it.
Well, it would excrete it because it's trying to lower the bicarb because the bicarb makes it more basic and the blood's already basic enough. So it would try to basically get rid of the bicarb in order to make the
Oh,
pH lower.
Do you want to try the last one to see?
I'll
Yeah.
try.
Just remember that if you keep the bicarb, it's gonna make you more.
Yeah, yeah. It's making it more basic. So it has to excrete it to bring it back to normal.
Acidic. You want to make the 7.5 more acidic, so that's why the bicarb is lower because it's
Okay, I
Give
get
it
it.
a try. Give it a try.
Yeah. It's
All
the
right, next
7.5,
one.
right?
Yeah, you can do the next one.
Okay. So
I'm sorry, it's the ugliest number on the planet. I'm sorry about that.
it's fine. So 7.5, that's basic. And 43, that's more than 40. And bicarb is 26, that's more than 24. So I'll say it's metabolic alkalosis.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Great. Yo, you did it faster than I can. Oh my gosh, you just went boom, boom, boom.
What's
Okay.
the compensation?
Oh, CO2. It's
Com-
it's higher, right? Because you know the lungs, is it the lungs that are compensating?
Yes, it's the respiratory system. Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys.
Does your respiratory is your respiratory rate going to increase or decrease to compensate?
Good question. Decrease.
Good, to retain the CO2 to make it more acidic.
So that'll be hypoventilating?
Yeah, you can you're decreasing your respiratory rate to retain more CO2 to make you more acidic, to bring you
Oh.
back.
hypo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect 100%.
All right. So, is everyone good? Does anyone want to do any more?
I'm chilling.
Say it now before we move on.
Is it me or the website she sent is harder than the regular, like
The
if
web-
we're
harder.
Because of the ranges, we don't have ranges. We just have like,
one?
it's bigger than if it's more than 24, if it's less than 40, if it's more than it's ranges on the website.
Yeah.
Can you guys explain now the answer on the one that we did on the website? Like why was it respiratory acidosis?
Oh, because of the fact is there's ranges. So in the range, one of them was the bicarb was in range, so it wasn't considered abnormal.
Ah, okay, okay.
So it didn't match our ranges that the professor gave us.
Well, she didn't even give us ranges, the regular people who didn't come to she didn't give us ranges. She just said anything below or anything above.
You should do ranges though to get us used to it. I feel like
Because at the end of the day, when we get to other classes, they're gonna use those.
Yeah, we're gonna have it in other classes, but I think it's just like for us to get used to it because all the other ranges are gonna be harder for us to start to learn it.
it's just gonna make people mad.
We finished respiratory. I figured that we can do these questions real quick. No one look. No one look. Please don't look. Please don't look. Okay. And it's okay if you don't know. Did we do this before? We didn't do this before, right? Am I correct?
No, I don't think so.
We're not just saying it out loud, right?
Don't say it out loud because my brain takes a minute to process.
My brain takes time.
Well, how about this? So,
Put the fingers.
the fingers are fine. Yeah. But don't be obvious. Like, don't like the, like, you know, I don't have it on the screen. So like, I'll just do it like that. Wait, I don't know. I guess. I mean, I don't know. How do you even do this? Hi, everyone. I can see everyone now. Can you see this? I guess you can. I don't know. Okay, whatever. All right. What is the function of
What is
Sorry?
this?
Huh?
What slide is this? I just want to follow along. What slide?
Oh, there's a separate there's clicker questions in the modules. I think it's on like the respiratory module. I don't know what module. I think
All respiratory clicker questions.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what week.
I think it's like 13 or 14 or something like that.
Okay.
Can you believe we made it this far, guys? Didn't think it was gonna happen. Anyways. What is the function of type 1 alveolar system? Mucus production, surfactant production, gas exchange, or histamine release?
Gas exchange.
Yes.
I mean, you can't say it out loud, but yes, yeah.
How do we answer? I'm sorry.
Oh, you just put your finger up. You go like 1. I don't know.
2, 3, or 4.
No.
It's a lot for everyone to like figure it out and like read the question and stuff. But we can do that. It's okay.
I need
Sorry,
time.
I'm a newbie. I'm a newbie.
I need time for this one. I already see it.
Yeah, I haven't even read it.
Oh,
Which of the following occurs during inhalation? The volume of the thoracic cavity increases. The atmospheric pressure exceeds interpulmonary pressure. The pressure in the thoracic cavity increases. The recoil of the lungs, or 2 of the above.
Forgot a finger.
yeah, right.
My finger was gone. It was just down below. My finger was like down here.
Okay, I think I know which one it is. I don't know. I know which one it is, but like
The cloud.
whatever. We're gonna guess. So I don't know. Let me look at my people.
Oh, you can't see us?
No, I minimized you. I made you super like I just put my name. It's just my name.
So if we go through them like you usually do, the atmospheric pressure has to exceed the intrapulmonary pressure in order to get in. So that's one of the answers. But
Yes,
doesn't
I
the
love-
thoracic cavity increase, like the volume?
Yeah.
About-
Yeah.
Yeah. Volume of the thoracic cavity will increase.
That's when
And
the
the
thing.
atmospheric pressure.
Pressure will decrease to allow air from high to low, from
So-
high atmospheric pressure to low, and this allows the air in. And once, I don't know if that's going to be the next question, but who cares? Once gas exchange occurs, your thoracic cavity basically will decrease as you exhale. Your pressure will go up because of this, because of basically your muscles and your thoracic cavity coming down. And this causes air to come from high pressure inside your lungs to low pressure outside of your lungs.
So the answer should be 2 of the above.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Mhm.
True or false? The process of normal resting exhalation is passive and requires no energy expenditure.
I believe.
I believe I can fly. Yeah. Yes, it's true. It's
No.
true. Yes, it is because it was on the PowerPoint. Well, it's because it does because you need to breathe out and it's just a recoil of your thoracic cavity. So that's why it doesn't require any energy. I think I'm right. Yeah.
Either inhaling or exhaling, like the normal tidal volume, both of them are passive. So just
Yeah. I'm guessing they're both passive because of the fact it's like you don't need energy to breathe. You shouldn't need energy to breathe, or we'd all like, and I don't know. I guess we always have energy, right? If we never have energy. I mean, we don't ever have energy because we're always tired, but we have energy to like live. So, and breathe, I guess. Anyways, okay. Oh wow, my sun covered up. Okay, so the amount of air that can be exhaled following a normal tidal exhalation is A, tidal volume, B, residual volume, C, expiratory reserve volume, or SPORC, functional residual capacity, when you can't talk anymore. That's kind of hard, not gonna lie, because
hard. It's not hard. Following a normal tidal exhalation.
well, I guess I know what it is, but the last one is a two together. Okay, so
So, but it can be exhaled. It tells you right there, and one of them cannot be exhaled at all, no matter what you do.
yeah, it's three.
Three.
It's three.
Yeah. So tidal volume, if I bad don't remember, it's just like normal inhalation and exhalation without energy. Residual volume, no matter what you do, you can exhale it. Expiratory, it's anything above tidal volume. It could be expiratory or inspiratory. And then the functional residual, it was the addition of residual volume plus the expiratory reserve volume, right?
Yeah, I think it was either that or tidal volume plus. I think
No,
it's
I don't know. I don't know because Taro, you could it's normal. So
Oh,
residual
no. It's functional residual capacity, which means that you can functionally get it out, but you can't functionally get out your residual volume because of the fact is that you can't get it out. I mean, I'm guessing. I don't know.
wasn't the
pretty sure that's the
functional the expiratory reserve plus the residual volume?
I
Wasn't
didn't think so. I think it was.
It's are we talking about the functional residual capacity?
yeah, I think that's
It's residual volume plus expiratory reserve.
reserve volume. Okay, perfect.
I'm
So
wrong.
that means like when you normally inhale or exhale, you could have probably exhaled more, but you didn't do it because you were a normal tidal volume, so that all that stay there as a reserve as a capacity.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Which of the following would be expected in an individual with obstructive lung disorder? Elevated arterial oxygen level, elevated CO2 levels, elevated blood pH, or reduced vital capacity.
Uh,
More than one? Can we do more than one?
Like wouldn't I don't know if I should okay, I'll wait until after.
Usually do more than one.
We can't, but it is more than one.
Yeah, because I'm saying wouldn't
Wait, let other people finish. Does everybody finish? You guys know.
I know for sure it's two.
Right. It's two of them. It is two.
Yeah. So can
No,
I add one?
Right. It's not two of them. It's just
Yeah,
one.
it would be elevated CO2 levels, elevated blood
No, it
pH.
wouldn't be elevated blood pH. It would
No,
be
elevated blood pH means it's higher than 7.4, and that makes it alkaline. So not that.
that's
Not-
so
The one that I'm actually thinking it's a reduced vital capacity, but if you think about it,
They
if you're
have
obstructed,
She said it's not. She said that because of the fact that what it's dealing with is the elasticity, not the compliance. So because elasticity, it's much, basically exhaling is a lot less on the whole scale.
inhale it, it compensates. Yeah, I remember when she said that.
Which of the following would not result in a reduced efficiency of gas exchange in the
Don't
lungs?
say it, please. I'm gonna take a minute for this.
Okay. Not pneumonia, emphysema, increasing the partial pressure of oxygen, traveling to a higher altitude.
Which one would not result in reduced efficiency of gas exchange?
Jocelyn, your face.
I'm like,
Yeah,
listen.
really bad answer.
So it would be 3, because increasing the partial pressure of oxygen means that the higher the partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere, the higher partial pressure it's going to be in your alveoli, and should be within 5 of millimeters of mercury between your alveoli and your PO2 levels, or the PaO2 levels. So it should be within 5, and that's how you basically tell whether somebody has gas exchange problems or not because of that.
If your PaO2 is increased, that means that the ability to do for gas exchange is perfect.
It's
Like,
gonna be, yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
the only thing that can determine,
XPaO2, it's diffusion
yeah,
and gas exchange.
If an area of the lung contains damaged alveoli, perfusion to this area would be increased, perfusion to this area would be decreased, the gas exchange in this area would be enhanced, or the lungs would spontaneously combust. So, I'll wait a minute. So it would be
Perfusion.
yes.
Perfusion means just going to like the tissues and everything and the organs. That's what that means.
The dilation of the blood vessels to, or basically the amount of blood going to that specific area.
Remember the picture that she showed, 2 pictures of one damaged and one not damaged, and she asked, if this one's damaged, will you dilate that one and send something to it and then lose that blood that it's not going to do anything, or you just constrict it and send it to the one that it's working in order to go ahead and do gas exchange? So that's the picture. Just think about when you see this, what would be decreased? They're going to just constrict it because you don't want to send any blood to some place that is damaged, because it's not gonna, you're just gonna lose that blood there. You're gonna send it where it works better.
yeah, those are the 2 mechanisms that are going to keep ventilation and perfusion matched.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jocelyn just said, in order to keep ventilation and perfusion the same, you're going to constrict vessels that are going to go to damaged alveoli, and you're going to dilate vessels to go to functional alveoli to deliver blood to them, which is perfusion. So perfusion would be decreased to a damaged alveoli.
I was right.
So it'd be 2.
She's like, I was right.
I was right.
So smart for one.
You get it, Morgan?
Yeah, so I think I got there. So it'd be number 2, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I picked. I just wanted to make sure I knew exactly what perfusion meant, but I kind of had an idea.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Olivia?
Yeah. Which of the following would result in increased ventilation? Reduced CO2, reduced pH, increased oxygen, or an elevation in lung perfusion? Okay.
What is ventilation?
It's basically your breathing.
Breathing in and breathing out.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Everybody got an answer?
No.
Okay.
Because you take it out. So
I'm not really sure on this.
If you want to write it out, like write it out.
What do you mean?
Like think about like what we were just going over.
Okay, so basically, increased ventilation is caused by a couple things.
Mhm.
But in this case, so it's really talking about CO2. In this part of the lecture, that's where we were. So if this is the answer, reduced pH, that's the answer.
Low pH.
The low pH, and the low pH can be caused by two things. But in this case, we're gonna be talking about CO2. It'd be caused by a high CO2 or a low bicarb. Oh wow, when you can't speak bicarb. I don't want to write the whole thing out, but you know, we're gonna try. Okay, so it can be caused by those two things. In this case, we're talking about the answer is a reduced pH because anything that reduces the pH, that's acidosis, and in this case, it would increase ventilation because it's trying to get the carbon dioxide out to raise the pH.
It's compensating. Like
Yeah.
when we were just doing, it's compensating. So if you're acidic, how is the respiratory system going to compensate for that? It's going to increase your ventilation to try to get CO2 out to bring your pH back to normal, to make it more alkaline.
Yes.
What
Everyone
was
got
the elevation in lung perfusion? In the last session, I was explaining it before. After Emily said that, I got confused. Emily, what do you say about it?
Increased perfusion just means like the blood delivery to like the tissues. So what you were saying about having those two mechanisms, those mechanisms that you're talking about constricting or dilating the vessels that go to the functional or damaged alveoli, those are two mechanisms that are used to keep ventilation and perfusion the same, because you always want to keep ventilation and perfusion the same.
So elevation of perfusion will mean dilating.
Well, actually,
yes, that is what it means.
Dilating. Yeah,
It means
it's
dilating the
think
blood
about it,
vessels. Yeah.
now that I mean, technically, increased ventilation.
so
I
that's
mean,
what I thought. Like if you
perfusion
dilate,
that might be right as well. If you're keeping ventilation and perfusion matched, you would also need to keep perfusion increased as well. So
so that's why I got confused. But
it wouldn't result in it necessarily. Like it would just be the same. Like it would be
so
doing.
it wouldn't. So that's not the answer because that's what she said. What would result in
What
it?
would result? Right. That's a
Yeah.
little confusing. I don't think
I
she.
still don't really understand the last question, this one.
Okay, it'd be reduced pH because as your lungs will try to compensate for the reduced pH or the acidity by trying to basically make gas exchange happen more frequently, and how it does that is by increasing your rate of breathing. And if you're breathing more, you're basically getting more carbon dioxide out of your lungs and therefore lowering your pH of your blood because there's less hydrogen ions.
So increased ventilation is hyperventilation, taking CO2 out.
Right.
Okay, and then if you have a decrease in pH, so a more acidic pH, then that would be
Hyperventilation.
The same thing. Reduce, it's the same than
maybe I just wrote it down wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
So
you
if you have decreased ventilation or like trying to
keep CO2 in,
yeah.
you're an alkali, like you have an increased pH. So if you have an increased pH, what is the respiratory system gonna do?
Oh, I literally just wrote it down wrong. Sorry. I wrote reduce pH and decrease in pH, and I'm like, what the hell? But it's the same thing. So never mind.
same thing, yeah.
Which of the following partial pressures would be least saturated with oxygen? Oh gosh, well it's 28. I'm sorry. It's 28. We would all got that. I'm sorry. I clicked the button too fast.
To that one, yeah.
Yeah, because the partial pressures, that would be the lowest, where the hemoglobin would drop the most amount of oxygen off to. But she said, I think we're not testing on this, so.
Wait, what was that again? So which of the following partial pressures will hemoglobin be the least saturated with oxygen? Least saturated with oxygen.
Yeah, so remember that
The question.
Oxygen bound to hemoglobin is completely dependent on the partial pressure of oxygen in arterial blood, your PaO2. So whatever your PaO2 is, it's going to directly affect oxygen's ability to bind to hemoglobin. So the less PaO2, like the less millimeters per mercury that you have of PaO2 that you have, that's gonna directly affect the hemoglobin. It's gonna directly affect saturation of hemoglobin.
Not getting it, so don't even lose your time.
PaO2.
I'm not- Yeah, no, not getting there. So don't worry.
What?
That it's not getting there, so don't worry even explain it. I don't get it. So we could move on that one. Like I
Do you,
won't get it.
do you know the normal PaO2 that would
It's
be the best binding?
always going to be 5 millimeters of mercury less than your partial pressure of oxygen in alveoli.
Yeah, I remember it was 100. Like the PaO2 was 100, right?
That's the maximum amount that it can reach.
The saturation for hemoglobin if it's 100.
It would be 9. You're
Highly saturated.
it's
So
9.
Oh,
yeah,
it's less than 100. Yeah,
So-
I always get wrong the easiest question, so that's why I just don't even bother. Like if you have like the hardest question, I'm gonna get it right. If you put something stupid, you already know that I have that one wrong. Like I just don't get it.
That could have been
lower the PaO2, the lower the.
Okay.
The
Thank you for taking the time. I just already gave up when I saw it.
the PaO2, the lower the
Saturation.
saturation of oxygen.
Sorry, I mean I gave up on you. No, I just gave up on me, not you.
Sorry, Olivia.
You were all talking at the same time. I was like crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't
We're
imagine.
Cubans. We're Cubans. We just
Yeah.
open. But we understand and hear each other at the same time.
Oh, that's incredible.
Amazing.
He said that.
I hope these questions are on the test, to be honest.
Well, some of them were. The beginning ones were. This one isn't, though. But it would make sense. if the
Don't put it.
Olivia!
Oh,
You
Olivia.
said it wasn't gonna be on there. Whatever. It would be capillaries feeding a very active
I
skeleton.
said, I hope these questions are on the
Can
test.
you go over it? Because
Oh my God,
I didn't even read it. Can you go over it?
Hi, yes, I can. Okay, which of the following locations would be unloaded most readily? It
What
makes
does most
sense.
readily mean? The more, the most?
Most.
Yeah, most available.
It
Okay.
would make sense that it'd be the capillaries feeding the very active skeletal muscle because of the fact it's unloading the most oxygen where it's most needed. And in this case, oxygen would be most needed in skeletal muscle to assist in ATP.
I have to learn how to just answer the question on the test and move on because I feel like if I don't do that, then I'm just gonna like
Overthink it.
I just want to do it. Like I saw it here and I didn't even look at the other. Like I didn't even think twice about it. I was just like, that's it. I have to do that on the test.
So do you get it, Jocelyn?
Mhm.
Which of the I won't fast forward this time. Which of the following would result in decreased unloading of oxygen from hemoglobin?
Okay, hold on.
All right, yeah. So, well,
I think I don't know if I'm sure. I think anemia because once you have anemia, you have loss of blood, red blood cells.
it
You're
would
not
be
gonna have that.
which one of the following would result in a decreased unloading of oxygen from
Yeah, if you have
hemoglobin?
anemia, you don't have red blood cells, and if you don't have enough red blood cells, wouldn't you just can't bind to oxygen?
Increased unloading would be exercise.
Yeah.
Increased unloading would be increased arterial PO2. I don't know about elevated blood.
Yeah, it would be 4. It'd be increased arterial PO2 because you wouldn't want to unload oxygen where it's not needed.
Oh, so it's not actually asking about because honestly, anemia it's loss of red blood cells.
It was a little confusing.
I don't think because I would overthink everything.
And she doesn't even talking about. Oh yeah, that's. Oof. Can we take a picture of it just in case?
Pretty her test questions are easier than those. So.
First, definitely easier than this. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's good. We get the hardest one here to figure it out.
Olivia, you said it was because. What was it again? Like the explanation?
It's because the hemoglobin won't drop off oxygen where it's not needed. So if there's an increased arterial PO2. Well, I mean, so PO2 is basically the partial pressure in an area where there's oxygen. So in the lungs or in the alveoli, there's really high partial pressure. So it's not going to unload that much oxygen.
Mhm.
I feel like she worded the question like not well. I feel like she could have said, if you have like less activity, like
I mean,
something like that,
decreased unloading. I feel like she could say
decreased amount of activity or something like that in the skeleton.
Unload less.
unload less, but she doesn't. She'll use this in the test. She'll just say
He's
this.
gonna use that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Which of the following occurs when red cells reach the lungs? Red cells. Okay.
Red cells.
Red cells. Red blood cells. All right, I think I know which one it is.
Wait, I don't.
Yeah, I need some time. Hold on.
I'm contemplating between two of these.
Well,
Yeah, I was too, Marniqua. I was too. I was right there with you.
So that's one.
Okay, wait.
That's another one. Okay. Don't put the answer yet. Like,
Yeah.
go over it
don't
and
have
then
it in
figure it out.
Go over it, I don't.
Chilling, bro.
Can we go over it before putting the answer?
I don't think we're gonna do Kahoot tonight. I don't think so. If we were gonna do Kahoot, we'd probably do the digestive and the heart, but we have to get through this. Well, through
And I
renal.
don't even think the digestive and heart are going to be on the final because Chang didn't. I mean, Berryhill wasn't the one to teach those sections.
So she said she was gonna do everything that she teach, and she's only gonna put like 2 questions about blood vessels. So even if you get those 2 questions wrong, you still have 100% and get the class.
Blood vessels, I'm lit. I hated those.
But 2 questions, like you fail 2 questions and you get all the other ones right, you still get a 90.
Yeah, that's what I was
But we're
saying.
not doing heart and digestive, right? Because that's what Chang taught. And she said she wouldn't put what Chang taught, right?
Okay, I think I know what it is.
Then we'll but we already did the other 2. Wait. Yeah.
We
Wait.
did we
Wait.
did well, we didn't do integumentary. We did the cranial nerves or the nervous system.
And then the next one would be respiratory and digestive, and the following after that was the last one we did, which was
Urinary
urinary. No,
and reproductive. That's what we did for.
for the last test. We did respiratory and blood vessels.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were just mentioning like what anatomy was going to be on the final.
No. All right. So do we have?
Well, I have 3 answers, and I know it's not gonna be that.
That's not 3 answers. It cannot be 3 answers. So pick one.
I
Once a red blood cell gets to the lung,
Okay.
the hydrogen ions are gonna be released from the hemoglobin.
It will bind to it.
It will
The-
bind to it.
Yeah, it's bound to the hemoglobin, but you don't need to know all that. All you need to know is bicarb is exported out of the cell because it has to be. It has to be, because if it's not,
Both.
how are you gonna do gas exchange? Because it's
Jocelyn, remember there's 3 ways to that.
Remember, yeah, but remember how both the hydrogen ions and bicarbonate, that's like the way the CO2 gets
It
to
has to leave, but when it reaches the lungs, remember carbon dioxide can travel as bicarb, so it has to go out of the cell. Like when it reaches the lungs, it has to leave. It has to.
remember how the carbon dioxide became the
you're right.
you see,
No, you're not. I doubt it. No,
once you have carbon dioxide,
no.
it
I
gets
refuse.
converted to bicarbonate. So once you get there, you have to release the thing.
Because it would decrease the pH. That's
Yeah.
what
How are you gonna get the bicarb? How are you gonna get the carbon dioxide?
The bicarbonate is also
Well,
released.
because all hydrogen ion production is what determines carbon dioxide as well. Remember hydrogen ion?
Well,
Look
That's
for
a
it. Look,
bad question. I don't like that.
Okay, I'm going to it.
look,
We're gonna
look for
find out
it.
right now.
Slide 31.
Slide 31. Oh gosh,
We're on gas exchange. I'm
No,
on it right now.
the wrong one, isn't it? Yeah.
With this,
Carbon dioxide transport, right there.
That one. 44.
oh, this is it.
So you see CO2 on water.
Wait, I'm going to the one that I thought it was. Wait, where is it? It's not this one.
That's one of them. That's the 3 steps how they get from carbon dioxide, how carbon dioxide is transported in blood. Those 3 ways.
Really? I can't move to the next slide. All right.
Are you all gonna, are you, well, you're recording this. Y'all have to send it to me. I need the beginning of this thing.
It's okay.
Once months, everything reverses. Alveolar exchange. Hemoglobin binds oxygen.
This removes more hydrogen from the solution, favoring bicarbonate and hydrogen.
That was a really bad question, to be honest, guys. I don't think she's gonna.
I don't think. I don't know. I thought that it was.
But I remember the process. because I-
Google. Why don't we Google? What was it again? Hydrogen ions. What?
They get released. They get
Dissociate
released from the hemoglobin.
from hemoglobin. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna read it.
Like I have it here recorded exactly the same thing, but that was in another thing, like a question because I was like, that's a stupid question, but how it's bicarbonate and not the same thing, and that's why she gave me the.
What does Google say?
Okay, the hydrogen ion dissociates from the hemoglobin and binds to the bicarbonate ion. This
So it's both.
the
So
carbon.
it's both.
This
That's why I was.
wait, let me finish. This produces the carbonic acid, which is converted back into carbon dioxide through the enzymatic action of something. The carbon dioxide produced is expelled through the lungs during exhalation. So it is it's both.
Both. It's both.
Dang,
This is awful.
that's both of them are getting.
Now, the worst question on the planet.
So bad. That's so-
Maybe
Maybe it would have been like
I guess it's more correct. I guess it's more correct to say that it was released, not
Exported. Yeah, because bicarbonate cannot be exported. Like it's not.
kill myself and then
that's a terrible question.
it's absolutely horrible.
I
No.
thought carbon dioxide is exported out of the cell. No.
Well, it's bicarb. It's
Well, bicarb binds. It says here that the hydrogen ion dissociates from the hemoglobin and binds to the bicarbonate ion, which then will be exported out.
Yeah, but they're asking what happened.
That's fine.
they both leave the hemoglobin basically.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Hope so.
But I don't think we're gonna need to know like specifics on like what happens.
Yeah,
Not
that's gonna be advanced. Yeah.
That's advanced. Yeah, I
That's
agree.
more advanced.
Okay.
Well, she told us she only wants us to know how carbon dioxide is transported. So
And
Yeah.
it's in 3 ways.
3 ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this one.
All right. So, which of the following would be expected within a patient with severe emphysema? Reduced CO2 levels, respiratory acidosis, respiratory alkalosis, elevated bicarbonate production, none of the above, or more than one of the above. Well, I know which answer it is.
Don't say it.
Wait, hold on.
What is?
emphysema, that's an obstructive disease.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it's an obstructive disorder.
I think I know which one it is, but I don't want to confuse.
Oh, I know what it is.
Oh gosh.
Searching for you.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
I don't even know the answer, so.
You can exhale. Like if you
Okay.
have an obstructive, you can exhale.
What
And
would
if
you?
can't
Well,
exhale,
so
your CO2 levels are gonna be really high. And once you have really high CO2 levels, what does it mean that you have?
Acidosis.
Yeah, there you go.
So it would be more than one of the above.
So respiratory acidosis, and then you're gonna have elevated bicarbonate just to compensate, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's what I.
Yeah, that is the answer. And why you would have elevated bicarbonate is because you're basically trying to compensate for the acidity so that you're going to hold on or create more bicarb so that you can basically level it off. But it can only go so high. So
I just want to make sure I understand this. So with emphysema, I know you have a problem exhaling. So if you have a problem exhaling, then all that CO2 is staying in your lungs basically, and it's causing like free hydrogens, which is going to make you more acidic. And then the elevated bicarb is what's compensating to bring the your acidic pH like to a more alkaline state. Okay.
That's all correct. 100. Yeah, that's all correct.
and all right. So
No more questions?
let's go on to
And
Don't wanna do this anymore.
say,
I don't wanna do this anymore.
I don't want to do this anymore.
I love that song.
Me neither.
she's like, I'm not even thinking. Me neither.
I wanna take away.
All right. So wait, no. That's respiratory. I don't know how I got. Okay, that looks really similar.
We are doing renal.
Sorry.
Renal's not that bad.
That's not the first one either. Is that the first one? No.
That's the first one. You're okay. You're good.
I don't think it is. Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Intro. The second one is fluid and electrolytes.
It's this one. This is the second one, right?
Can I take like a minute break?
Yeah.
That's the one that we did today.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, we're gonna die. The
Dios
next one. What?
No, I was just, oh, sorry. I wasn't unmuted. I just said "Ay, Dios mío" to myself.
Dios mío. I can't speak Spanish.
That was
Fun
very beautiful. Your ideas.
it was pretty ugly, we're not gonna lie, but it's okay.
No.
All right, so the nephron is the functional unit of the kidneys, which is pretty much all we talk about through the entire thing that she talked to us about, and which is really cool. There's different functional units of different organs in your body, like the sarcomere in your muscles and the osteon in your bones. Isn't that pretty cool? I know. What's the functional unit of your brain?
Medulla oblongata?
No. That's funny.
I remember that it's in the brain.
It's the neuron.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
So the neuron, it's what?
The functioning you don't even know this, but the functioning unit of the brain, or the CNS, or the peripheral, basically your nervous system, is your neurons. Yeah.
And then from the kidney,
Yeah.
the nephron.
Yeah, the kidneys and nephron, which is really cool how there's different things, different, I don't know, like in your heart, your functional unit, what would it be? Would it be the myocytes, or would it be the
Functional? The
junctions?
myocytes, right?
Yeah, it'd be the myocytes, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
Because
I thought the gap junctions are what like they communicate like that. Like they're
They
basically
do.
like the neurons for the brain. They're the gap junctions. That's how they communicate.
Yeah.
But the
But
gap
that's not-
junction is how like I mean, this is going off topic, but
No, we're not. Let's go on. Let's go to
yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna talk about all this.
No, we'll worry about that later.
Okay, so basically we're just talking about this. Where am I?
Did she skip through all this?
No, she didn't skip well, you might not know it, but basically it was just a bunch of anatomy. He's just talking about different things.
Okay.
But I'm just gonna summarize most of it. Okay, so in the proxial convoluted tubule, okay, right here, that's where most filtrate, reabsorption happens. That's where you're getting most of your stuff back. Most of the water comes back. It's about 65% of the water comes back. And that is because there are microvilli, which enhances the surface area. And whenever you enhance surface area, you enhance, diffusion and all the stuff that you need to go. And basically, that's very good. We like that. We get more water back. That's basically all. When it comes right off the glomerulus, this is called the glomerular filtrate, which is right here. It receives the glomerular filtrate, and then it's the tubular filtrate. And it's the tubular filtrate all the way up until the end of the connecting duct when it dumps it into the renal papilla. And when it does that, then after that, it's called urine. And only after that.
Wait, after the collecting duct or after the papillary?
After the collecting duct. Once you release it, that's the final.
Yeah, once it goes into the renal papilla.
Renal papilla. Okay.
I think that's what it's called. Like 95% sure.
Urine. Okay.
I mean, I would like to
Right.
know. See, now I don't know. Yeah, I second guess myself.
You're good.
Renal papilla. Yeah, it's right there. You're correct. Right there.
You go. All right. Hype myself up. Anyways, I'm not that cool. Anyways, okay, so it increases the surface area for reabsorption. There's okay, and also I wanted to explain this to you. So right here, because how it does this so well is because the microvilli, and also from throughout this is there's these things called fenestrated pores, and basically this allows for the filtration of the water and other solutes. And basically outside of here is about 300 milliosmoles, and that's kind of even, but it just allows for the water reabsorption and that kind of stuff, just to measure water. And then after this, as it goes down to the loop of Henle, then the basically outside of here it gets more and more concentrated, which means it just gets from 300 to 500 to 700 to 900, and all the way at the bottom it's about 1200 milliosmoles outside of the loop. Okay, and if it's more, if the osmolarity is higher outside of the loop of Henle or of the tube, then the water is going to move where the constant to basically create an equilibrium, to basically wash out the gradient to make it become equal, because it moves from high, well, it moves basically from high, I don't know how to explain this, but it basically diffuses across the tube into the capillaries or into the interstitial fluid so that it can basically dilute the concentration out there. Okay. And as you go down, it decreases, and you can see this right here. And it also, the reason, well, you don't need to talk about that. She didn't really talk about that, but as it goes up, basically the osmolarity outside gets less and less. But there's these things called sodium chloride pumps. Basically, they pump the sodium out of the tubular fluid to allow for basically this stuff out here not to get washed out, because the fluid's constantly getting moved out, and if it's not replaced, then there won't be a concentration gradient, and basically it won't move out. So
I have a question.
yes.
So at the beginning, it's always gonna be 300 milliliters, right?
Yes. Milliosmoles. Yep.
Yeah, and then once it's going down, wasn't it increasing like 500, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 1200, or you said
Yes,
it was
ma'am.
increasing?
Yeah. And
So-
on the outside, Jocelyn.
Okay, and then once we get at the bottom, it's always gonna be 1200, and then once we go up, was it increasing again or decreasing? Like
It's going to
on the other
go
side.
back to lesser. It's going to go back until to a lesser amount.
So once you are
Depending,
at
but it's
1200,
depending. I'm going to get to that, but it's depending on the presence of ADH.
Yeah.
because she said exactly that she says you need to know that as it's getting somewhere, it's gonna be decreasing. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, shit, like I don't remember that.
It's okay. We'll talk about it. I'm gonna get to it. So I'm just writing the numbers so that you can see. And as it goes down, the fluid, the solutes present in the fluid is similar to the solutes present outside of the fluid. So it just gets less and less with it. Like the basically the tubular fluid, the solute concentration gets higher and higher as you go down.
What was she saying about it equilibrates at 1200?
Which means inside and outside is both the concentration is both 1200.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Why? Okay, and let me explain to you why it gets less is because right here there's a bunch of sodium chloride or whatever channels right here that basically take the solutes out of the solvent of the water, and this allows for it to go down, for the osmolarity to go down, because osmolarity is based off the amount of solutes per the solvent. So if you have right here, the water concentration is going out, but the solutes are staying in, and that's why it's getting more and more concentrated. As you go up, the solutes are leaving. The sodium and the chloride and all those are leaving, and that's what makes the osmolarity intertubular, or in the tubular fluid, goes like less, because the more solute. It's kind of hard to explain. Did that make any bit of sense at all?
Osmolarity decreases once you get to that area where the sodium and the chloride starts leaving. That's when your osmolarity decreases. So now you've got a concentration on the outside of sodium and chloride. It's a greater concentration of it. So it
leaving, right?
all the solute starts building up and building up and building up, starting at the descending limb. It equilibrates at the loop of Henle on the bottom, and it's both 1200 inside, 1200 on the outside. As it starts to go up the ascending limb, you have so much solute inside of the tubule that it wants to leave. So then it leaves, and the osmolarity decreases inside of the tubule.
Yes.
So into the water, doesn't the water want to go where the solute is higher, and then it's gonna start leaving the water where outside to follow the solute?
Well, no. So
Not necessarily.
basically, so at the top, it gets to about 100 milliosmoles, because all this sodium and chloride, which was making it so concentrated, leaves. It leaves and goes and dilutes and makes sure that there's a concentration gradient over here, so that the next fluid coming through the water can do the same thing. As you get to the top, the distal convoluted tubule, or the distal portion of the nephron, which is this and this together, the collecting duct and the distal convoluted tubule. In these two, or the distal net part of the nephron, the thing that decides whether the water is going to stay in or move out is basically the presence of ADH.
Yeah.
If there's an excessive or a very high amount of ADH, then your water retention is going to be much higher. And so the aquaporins in basically, I'm not going to explain that, but it's in somewhere, okay? And basically it allows for the water to leave. The less ADH, the less channels that are open, and so the more water that stays in. Okay.
And both of them affect ADH and aldosterone. Both of them are going to be in the distal and the collecting duct. They both affect. So one, if it's ADH, it's just gonna take water out, reabsorb it, and then if it's aldosterone, it's gonna take not only the water but also
Jocelyn, when you were like, why doesn't the water go back into the ascending limb if the concentration?
not ascending. I was thinking to take it out.
Right. So the reason why the solute leaves and goes into like the interstitial fluid is to maintain the gradient. It's to keep that so that the gradient doesn't get washed out and it doesn't dilute. Because you remember how in the descending limb we were putting a bunch of water taking it out of the tubule, that starts to dilute it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens when it gets to the ascending limb, right? It's going to put all of those it's going to put the sodium and the chloride back into the back into the interstitial fluid to maintain that gradient, so that you can do the whole process all over again where the water leaves into the interstitial fluid at the descending limb. Do you get what I mean? It maintains the gradient.
In the loop of Henle, if it's a 1200, it's already diluted because you're gonna have a lot of
It
diluted.
it equilibrates at 1200. So it just basically what it's just trying to say is that you have the same osmolarity inside of the tubule as you do outside. It reaches a point where it balances. After it's not as it starts going up the ascending limb, it's no longer balanced, and you have more solute in the ascending limb. And then the solute gets really, really high in the ascending limb, and then it wants to leave, so that the concentration gradient doesn't get like diluted, and it doesn't wash out. Because if it washes out, then you can't take the water out of the descending limb. It's
You're
just
gonna have more water than that.
yeah, you're gonna it's gonna dilute it. It's gonna dilute that concentration, and you don't want to dilute it because you need to do the whole process all over again, and you need to continue to take water out of the descending limb. And so that's why they take the solutes out of the ascending limb. Just know.
Olivia.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Just to make sure, ADH takes water from the capillaries and puts it in the tube, right?
Well, ADH will take it out of the tube and put it in the capillaries.
But isn't ADH given to high blood pressure, to people with high blood pressure,
So it
to make them pee more?
It's given
no,
to
it's opposite. Antidiuretic hormone. So it makes you not pee because it basically wants to increase your blood volume, because you have low blood volume, so you need to increase it. And how it does this is it makes sure that you reabsorb as much water as you can, depending on like if there's more or less ADH present.
Oh, wait, ADH is the one that makes you thirsty.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Low blood pressure. Think about how would I increase that blood pressure. ADH would
So-
reabsorb the water, and then by putting more water, you will elevate. So the ADH will elevate the blood
So people with high blood pressure, you give them a diuretic.
Yes, like Lasix. You give them a diuretic so that they take out more like water, because you want to decrease blood volume. So the way that they decrease
Okay.
ADH is gonna actually make it worse. It's gonna increase it even more, and you don't want
Yeah.
So somebody who's like dehydrated will have like antidiuretic hormone will activate with somebody who's dehydrated, because you want to retain water to keep the body and the tissues hydrated. So you're going to retain
And
water.
then
ADH.
and then aldosterone makes the kidneys retain water and salt.
And salt.
Yeah.
Yes.
And salt. It's both. Yeah. That's
And
going to
the reason,
that'll increase blood volume. So aldosterone is going to bring salt and water back into the blood capillaries, and that's going to increase blood volume and then increase blood pressure.
You have a reduction in blood. You want to do both. Increase blood pressure and blood volume.
And usually it's like that, except in the case of dehydration, where you're only gonna have ADH.
ADH. Okay, got it. Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right. The reason why is because dehydration, the amount of solutes in your blood are already high. So aldosterone, while it is started, it stops because ADH basically says, no, you can't do this because we already have a high amount of salt. So it stops salt reabsorption, and it only does ADH to allow for the reabsorption of water because of the fact that you already have high solute in your blood.
In the blood. Got it. Thank you.
Is ADH used as like a second mechanism once the solutes get too high in the capillaries? It's used as like a second mechanism, is what you're saying? Like aldosterone stops and ADH starts. That's what
Well,
you're-
so they both start, but aldosterone stops because ADH basically says, well, it kind of just says no, you can't do this because we already have high solutes.
right.
So because if you just increase the solutes along with the water, then you already have a balance that's off.
Right.
So it just allows for the water to be reabsorbed.
So once you have, in other words, once you have high solutes, aldosterone would not be
Work
activated.
and
No,
ADH.
it won't work.
It won't activate it. So even if he wants to help with the water, just because he has high solutes, that doesn't get activated. So the one getting activated is ADH.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And because we're already talking about aldosterone, let's talk about it completely. So how aldosterone works from low blood pressure, low sodium, or high potassium. And what it does is it starts the ATP, the sodium potassium pump. And it basically enables potassium out and, potassium out, sodium in. And basically it could either be, she kind of lied to us. She said that. She said it could either be potassium or hydrogen. Okay. So when we're talking about that pump, it could be either hydrogen or potassium. And then we're going to talk about that later because I feel like that's a later topic.
Renal fluid. Yeah. Yeah, that's
But I just wanted to talk about that. And that's a part of this. So we're not avoiding it. It is a part of this. But it's a little complicated. So we're going to talk about it later. But
Olivia, before you move on, which I already got all of that, like most of it. What is the little dots? I know that's like where it's the
those are the pores in which, well, they're channels in which sodium and chloride can exit.
okay, channels. Okay.
Can we go through this one more time? Because I'm like completely lost. Like I have no idea what's going on.
All right, bet. Okay, I love the kidneys, so I have no problem. Okay.
Perfect.
All right, so I'm gonna actually start before this, so we're gonna go all the way back. All right, so the afferent arteriole puts blood into the glomerulus, and it is bigger than the efferent arteriole. And why that is like that is to create pressure, because there needs to be a pressure system in order to filter the blood. And really, pretty much everything gets through. Not much gets held back. There's stuff like proteins and cells that get held back, okay? But not much does. When it comes out of here, it's called the glomerular filtrate, okay? Once it's out into the proximal tubule, okay, it's called the tubular filtrate. And that's what it is all the way up until when it gets into the renal papilla. Then it's called urine. In the proximal convoluted tubule, the most important thing about this is it reabsorbs the majority of the filtrate, and it does so about 65% of it. Now, how it does this is through the microvilli, and it really has no issue. That's why it's so easy, and that's why it's only 300 milliosmoles, because it's really easy. When you can't, I don't know, how do you, okay, whatever. And so then you get to the loop of Henle, and this is when it starts to get difficult, so the body basically figured out a way how to do it. So how it does this is it basically increases the amount of solutes outside of the nephron so that the water will try to basically flow outside to dilute the solvents. As it goes down, the amount of solvents solutes outside of the nephron gets higher and higher to allow for more and more fluid to leave. As it gets to the bottom, it I can't say it, but Emily can. Equilibrates. And this just means basically the milliosmoles are the same outside and inside. And so most of the water, not most, but good bulk of the water has left. This makes up, I just wanted to point this out, about 20% of the total water reabsorbed. Okay. And as it goes up, how the osmolarity of the filtrate gets less than 1200 is because of these channels. These channels allow for the sodium and the chloride and the urea and all this stuff to leave. I don't think it's urea. I think that's on the end of it. But just the sodium and chloride, just think about those, to leave so that it can basically make or reestablish this concentration gradient and replenish the solvents outside of the nephron. And this is what makes it less and less, the solvents less and less in the water. So then once it gets to the top, it's only about 100 milliosmoles, or that's how diluted it is. It's very diluted, right? Basically, in the distal convoluted tubule, your water reabsorption is directly correlated with the amount of aldosterone and ADH present, and it's mostly ADH.
Represents the 15%.
And this is, yes, and this is, like she said, but it's a good majority. It's like about, I think it's like 27 liters or something.
27 liters, exactly.
Whew, buddy, did I get that right? Oh my gosh, that's incredible. I didn't even know that I was, anyways, okay, so it can reabsorb about 27 liters of fluid, okay? And how it does it is the aquaporons, if the ADH or aldosterone is present, then they will open. When they open, it allows for the urea, basically the water to move out so that your pee can be more concentrated. But it's not pee yet, it's filtrate. But they're located all along here. Okay? And the less ADH or the less aldosterone, the less aquaporons that are going to be open. The more ADH or aldosterone present, the more aquaporons that will be open to allow for water to move. I'm sorry.
By the way, urea is protein in the blood, just so you know.
Yeah, she wrote about it. She said something about it.
Well,
I know that because I wrote it down.
Yeah, urea will keep going.
So we have the first one is 65%, which much reabsorption occurs. Loop of Henle, it's 20%. And then the 65% and the 20%, there's nothing you could do about it. That one, it's unregulated by any hormones. That's it is.
Yes.
So that's everything. Once you get to the distal, and then you get to the collecting duct, that 50%, it's the only percent that could be regulated by hormones. That means once it gets there, depending whether you have ADH or not, you're going to be able to reabsorb or just let it all out.
Yeah.
Depending on your hydration levels.
Or your hydration.
So basically it's dealing with ADH for the most part, because if you're talking about, it's depending on your hydration levels, and dehydration inhibits aldosterone.
If we're talking about blood pressure, then it would be aldosterone.
Yeah.
Because of the RAA system, right?
Yeah. But in this case, when it's talking about this, it would be talking about
mostly ADH.
ADH.
Okay. So what about ADH? It's right now it's activated. So we have ADH in our in there. We're reabsorbing water. What's gonna be the clearance now?
Well,
Because that's like the
depending on what solute you're talking about. I mean, I wouldn't know. It depends on what solute you're talking about.
The clearance depends on the solute?
Yeah. Because if you're talking about, depending if you need it or not, right? So if you're talking about Ulin or whatever the hell it is, it should be 100% because it's full clearance. Should be. But
Because
it's depending on the ion.
And you
Because
so like if you don't have secretion and you don't have reabsorption, then your GFR is going to be the
It's
same.
100%.
If you have secretion, then your clearance is gonna be higher than your GFR because you have the clearance and you have the secretion.
So if I have my ADH, it means I'm having reabsorption. And if I'm having reabsorption, it's gonna be
reduced. It's going to be reduced.
less clearance. Okay.
But it's just depending on what ion you're talking about. Because it just depends, to be honest.
If you
She
have
told she
reabsorption,
spoke about creatine and urine. So those two are going to be 100%.
those two are the GFR is gonna equal the clearance 100%.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
A healthy.
On creatine, yeah.
So there's no secretion and no reabsorption going on.
So I have
Mhm.
creatinine and something else. That means my ADH is not gonna be activated, right? Because I'm not having any reabsorption there. Is that what you're saying?
No, I have no idea what.
Okay.
I don't think it has to do with ADH.
No, it doesn't. It has
It
nothing.
just
It,
it just has to do with whether if your body needs it or not.
So the clearance
Like if
has
you're
nothing to do with ADH. ADH.
yeah, no. I mean, depending on the solute, but normally no. It depends what your body needs. Like Zadie said, it's like if you need calcium, your body's gonna absorb calcium. But it's like, it's basically so. The ions traveling in your blood at any given time, if your body needs them, then it will keep them. If your body has an excess of them, it will get rid of them.
So clearance has nothing to do with soluble, just the solvent. It has to do with the solute, right?
Yes.
Oh. So
Yes.
it means ADH has nothing to do because ADH is water. So the clearance has to do with anything that I need to be reabsorbing. So if I reabsorb that, whatever it is that you said,
yeah, because ADH is a hormone.
okay, so it has nothing to do with it.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So
Yes.
can you say the two names again?
What?
Uh,
Yulin and creatine.
Yuling?
yeah. Mhm.
You don't need to know it.
I
She's
don't
gonna
know.
talk about creatine.
No, if I don't
She'll
need to
probably
know.
talk about creatine. But Yulin is one and creatine is the other.
I think it's inulin.
Inulin. Oh, how you doing, Morgan? Are we dying? Are we okay? How we doing?
She hasn't been complaining, so she's good. I'm the
She
one
left
complaining.
she left a comment. Let's see. Yeah, I'm so lost. Making hot chocolate. Well, that works. It's okay. All right. We talked about this. So that's what we talked about. We talked about this.
Oh, that's the name. The one that you just took out, that's the name. When it's at the glomerulus, it's gonna be the glomerular filtrate. When
It's
it's
right here.
all completely, it's gonna be the tubular fluid, and then at the end, it's just gonna be the urine. But you talk about it.
So it's gonna be the tubular fluid as soon as it leaves the
Yeah,
Glomerulus.
the glomerulus.
until the end, even after the papillary duct. Once it exits, it's the urine.
Yes.
Got it.
All right, so this is what I talked about before, the fenestrated capillary epithelium. This are large pores which they allow for things to get retaken back in.
And then you add protein to that.
Wait, large pores but prevent movement of large.
It prevents movement of large substances because you have to realize that the fenestrated capillary epithelium, which is between the tubule and the capillaries, so it are large pores but prevent movement of red blood cells and white blood cells and platelets, which are located in the blood.
But that fenestrated capillary endothelium has nothing to do with the little porous channels that were open and ascending loop of Henle, right? Has nothing to do, right?
No, it is. It does. They're all connected to the arteries.
So
It's
it
all
has to do with this
it's
little.
that. It's the. I'll show you
Aquaporins that you were talking about.
this. You see how
Oh, it's connected, but it doesn't have to do with
Organ
the whole skin.
is happening all throughout this.
Jocelyn.
Is that the peritubular capillary?
Yes, ma'am. I listened to you talking about it with the teacher yesterday or today. Yeah, they're peritubular capillaries,
Okay.
and that's what they're connected with. That's where the water's going.
Well, no, where most reabsorption.
Where the water's moving.
Listen,
But
I
after, whenever
just saw her text.
we reabsorb, it goes there
What'd you
first
say?
to the other.
What'd you say?
Oh, I said I felt bad for Morgan. I just saw her. She said she was making out chocolate.
So the descending tube of the loop of Henle releases water, and the ascending tube of the loop of Henle releases solutes to maintain the osmotic pressure.
Yes, ma'am.
Good job.
Okay,
I got it too.
She's like, oh gosh.
excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're just stressing because we know it's a final.
I think we'll all be fine.
Yeah, hopefully.
So it's not particularly normal for protein in blood to pass through the 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 nephron, but it does happen occasion from trauma, and there's other things that can happen, and glucose is one that she talked about where it can happen. It doesn't happen normally, but after like a high carbohydrate meal, you're going to release some glucose to get rid of it because you have an excess.
So proteinuria, it's once you find protein in the urine, and hematuria, it's when you see blood in the urine.
Yes, ma'am.
For some reason, I remember.
You're smart. You should. This is just showing you the filtration slits or whatever, the fenestrated pores or whatever the hell, however you say it. Okay, so the pressure. So we talked about the afferent arterial and the efferent arterial. And the afferent arterial, Morgan, is that the one that goes in the glomerulus or out of the glomerulus?
And because efferent goes out, E for exit. That's how I remember that.
Look at that.
She
All right.
always has a trick.
That's about the one thing I know.
And what about afferent? Is it dilated or constricted?
Shit. Dilated because it needs to let things in.
Of course.
Yeah, you're lost. You're so lost.
No, I am. Like when you start talking about like just things getting reabsorbed and everything and going through like, I don't know, when like the numbers start like, so my question is like when it's at 1200 and you said it's at equilibrium, then does that mean that the solute and fluid are equal? Like what's equal there? Like what's at equilibrium at 12?
Exactly what you said.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought I saw Emily shaking her head. I'm like, shit, did I get something wrong?
You're right. You're right. She's shaking her head at how every single time you think that you're just I don't know. Well, you can like
A
You're
lot of people don't want to know like you don't know. To be honest.
we all want to know like you don't know, Morgan. Every day. I strive to not know like you know.
Literally, like, that's annoying.
I just feel like I don't know, there's just a lot of information, so I just feel like I'm not understanding it to like my full potential, but I have like a general understanding.
Read.
That's how I feel too, Morgan.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
But we're gonna get 96 on the exam.
Oh, I hope so.
Remember
I just
we've been told many times that us like students, we think that we don't know many things, and then we feel like we don't know. But when someone talks about something and then you just come up with an answer, you realize that you do know
right.
Yes.
more than you think.
I just need an 88. That's all.
I need a
I
90.
really don't.
I need a 90. I need a 90.
Oh, only 11 questions wrong. Oh,
I
God.
don't.
Positive, Emily. I need a 90.
You guys can do it.
I think I need like I need
Yeah, Olivia, we know. You need like a 72.
And Olivia, you can pass with a 75.
No,
You need a 75.
to pass
75.
class.
I really envy you.
I need like I don't know, I need like a
I already
Like
calculated.
75.
I need a 75.
78.
what?
Oh, 78.
Yeah, I need like a 78 or something, or like
What a freaking hardship, Olivia. What a hardship that you have to go through.
I feel so bad about you. I don't think you're gonna make it
you know what?
to 75.
It's okay.
I'm like, you're only allowed to get 11 questions wrong. And I'm just like,
I need a 90.
You'll be fine. You'll get all A's. You'll be fine.
I was like looking at the the GPA if like you get like a B on like in the class, like, and I was looking at what your GPA is if you get a B in the class, and it's literally a 3.48 if you get a B in the class.
And it doesn't matter what you do on the other ones. We put it like a whole schedule for the whole year, and we never ended up with a 4.0. Like once you lower, we put it everything else in A for the end of the whole 2 years.
It was so hard to get it to like a 3.9 when you have it at a 3.8. I was like,
You won't be able, even if you get all A plus. So just
I'm
so
just gonna kill
fine.
myself. It's fine. Let's move on. All
Wait.
right.
Hold on real quick. I'm just trying to remember like the flow of the chart. So like where is the most filtrate? Like when like it starts
Glomerular.
with a P, right?
Glomerular.
Proximal convoluteal, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's where the most filtrate happens, correct?
65%. You got 65% here. You got 20 here,
Uh-huh.
and then you got whatever's left here. I don't know, 15,
15%.
something like that. I don't know.
Listen.
Okay.
And then 65
is
and
a lot.
20%, both
20.
of them, it's going to be 85%, and that's unregulated by hormones. It cannot be regulated. The only one that could be regulated is the 50%, and it's regulated only by your needs and your state of hydration.
All right. So, okay. Glomerular filtration rate, the GFR, it is regulated, okay, by basically not much, really. Only pretty much your caffeine intake. That's pretty much it. I mean, that's what I was my understanding. It's about 180 liters a day. It can be more if you drink coffee, because of the fact that caffeine increases the afferent diameter. And I guess what can decrease the GFR is the SNS, because it constricts the afferent arterial and allows for less blood flow. There's less blood flow. That means there's going to be less filtration, less filtrate, less pee, everything else. Okay.
Okay, don't move on yet. Okay, so GFR, it's regulated by caffeine.
Yes.
So caffeine makes you
it's a
pee more.
Does makes you pee more. It increases your GFR.
increases GFR. And then if your GFR it's increased, your volume would increase, your filtration will increase, so therefore you're gonna pee more because it's already everything is increased all the way.
Yes.
Okay. And then the sympathetic nervous system makes you pee less because you don't have time to
Yes.
Okay.
Increases your, you don't have time to pee, but it increases your afferent arterial, and this decreases the pressure, which decreases the GFR and urine production, and it diverts blood elsewhere, and that makes sense, and it conserves water because
But
you
it
don't pee.
doesn't make sense to me. Why would it increase? Oh no, it doesn't increase. It constricts the afferent arterial. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Very good. No. Okay.
Olivia, you look so tired. You look so tired. I'm so sorry.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Decreases.
but it's okay. We're getting through it. We're doing it. We're pretty much, I mean, like we got like, I don't know. We're not that
Yeah, at
we
least
might
we're
be
getting
done
it.
sooner than later.
Like,
What?
like at least I'm getting it.
So
Like we're not rushing through it.
we're not. No, we're taking our time.
I'm getting it too, and this is a big deal right now.
I'm
What?
so happy for you, Marnie. I'm so happy. I'm so happy you get it.
What, Marnie?
They're
Thank
getting
you
it.
so much.
I'm sorry. What?
Happy she's getting it.
I
She's
said I'm happy I'm getting it. Yes.
Hallelujah. All right.
We'll just rewatch this because I'm not fully understanding.
Okay. It's I mean, we're helping Marnie, so that's like A+ for me. Morgan, we're getting to you you're understanding it. But I know you so well, you're just like you have to understand everything so that but it's true. It's true. I know you. You have to know everything, and that's okay because that will make you a great nurse.
I
So
don't wanna know everything. I just want to pass the test.
just give me the information to pass the test, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, and then I'll worry about like her taking it later. No, I'm
I
kidding.
think if we put all of our brains together.
Oh my god, there have been so many times where I'm like, can I just borrow like somebody else's brain for the exam and then just like give it back? Because sometimes I'm
I
just like,
promise I'll give it
yeah.
back. I promise.
I just wanna like grab Olivia's brain for the exam.
Literally.
We could do a contract and sign that we're giving it back.
I don't think that my brain would. I mean, it might help you, I guess. I mean,
I think it would.
Yeah.
Hurts.
Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Isn't it crazy, you guys? Am I the only one? But I haven't thought about Thanksgiving like at all.
Me neither. That's why she
Like
said
my brain,
Thanksgiving, and I looked at her and said, Thanksgiving. I don't have any Thanksgiving this year. Thanksgiving is after the 30th.
bro,
like I'm so
Right.
focused on the
For my
exam.
family.
I'm
But
so focused on the exam.
sorry.
My mom's like, you can't even talk to me. I'm like, nope, sorry. She's like, and what about Thanksgiving? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I
Celebrate Thanksgiving.
don't know what that is.
And then with the baby, I'm like giving the baby to anybody. I'm like, can you take care of the baby? Can you take care? I'm giving it away to anyone because like I need to focus.
I would have taken it, say,
Like,
I would have
honestly.
taken, but not this year. I'm in the same.
My brother, he doesn't know like what to do with the baby. So I'm like, just carry him. Don't shake him. Just stand still with him, walk him, but like grab him. Let me study.
Hey, I will come over to your house and hold your baby and teach you. If I would do that. I love kids. I
He's
absolutely,
so sweet. Yeah,
absolutely love
he's
them.
so sweet.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait. One
But
day.
he's like a little earthquake also. Like when he sees me with the computer, he just like wants to like hit the computer and grab it and like I can't
He
focus.
wants your attention.
He wants to learn
himself.
physiology too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go on. We're going. We're moving. Okay. Yeah. We're just gonna. Oop. Okay. It's the same thing I explained, just with ugly diagrams that I hate very much. I mean, if anybody likes them, I guess you can go and look at them. But
You're good.
so the ability for the nephrons to adjust their flow, it is controlled by the myogenic regulation. And basically, if you have high blood pressure, it's going to constrict the arterioles. It's gonna constrict the afferent arteriole to an extent to allow for the pressure to be less, so that it doesn't put more pressure on the glomerulus than needed. So it wants to keep that pressure at 10. If it has higher pressure,
10?
Yes, 10.
Okay.
10. Well, and you can't go backwards, but 10.
Yeah.
10. Okay, so if your blood pressure is lower, all right, it's going to dilate the the afferent arteriole to basically allow for more blood flow to stabilize the pressure. Okay, so it just means to maintain the steady glomerular filtration rate despite the arterial blood pressure. Now, in cases of chronic high blood pressure or hypertension, the auto regulation starts to basically stop, and this can cause basically over time your nephrons get damaged and your glomerulus gets damaged, and it can also cause renal failure.
Yeah. So in basic words, we need to keep it on 10. And if we have high, like whatever you said, like high blood pressure or whatever, I don't remember the name of it,
Yeah.
that causes glomerulus rupture, and then it keeps on having renal um failure. I remember that.
Olivia, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So what was it again that, okay, so the reason why the pressure within the glomerulus is so low is because, what was it again? It can diffuse, like, what was it again? Like there's a reason why the pressure can be kept very low.
Well, the pressure is regulated because of the afferent arterial. So of how dilated it is how much pressure it's putting in the glomerulus, because the efferent stays exactly the same. So if you make that afferent bigger, it's going to increase pressure. If you make it smaller, it's going to decrease pressure. It's not high pressure because you don't want it too high, or more like things that are bigger can get through, and you don't want things that are bigger that can get through. You want this, you don't want protein to get in there, and you don't want cells to get in there. You don't want you don't want any RBCs, you don't want any platelets, you don't want any white blood cells, you don't want anything like that. You want water, you want sodium, you want all that stuff in there, but you don't want it to take cells in there.
Yeah, so basically you don't need to have high pressure to go in. You just need to make it dilated so more volume comes in, and that volume is the one that it's gonna put high pressure into the glomerulus, so because there's a lot of it in contained.
You want pressure. You don't want high blood pressure. You don't want high arterial blood pressure, but you need pressure in that glomerulus. You need some pressure.
And the pressure, it goes by the volume. Like the more that comes in, the more pressure you're gonna have, and the more filtration you're gonna have.
Yes.
I think what I was looking for is later on in glomerular filtrate, it says that the glomerular capillaries are very permeable, so they don't require high pressure, and they also have a large surface area, and that's the reason why the pressure within the glomerulus is kept like lower. Like it doesn't need to be very high.
Yeah. Same thing.
Okay, so this is just saying high blood pressure of the glomeruli renders kidneys very susceptible to damage from hypertension, and this can cause rupture and scarring, and it can lead to renal failure. Salt and water reabsorption, you have about 180 liters of filtrate per day, 1 to 2 liters of urine output per day. 99% of filtrate is reabsorbed, and then the rest is excreted. When you're overhydrated, which like very much so, you can excrete up to 23 liters a day. And if you're really, really, really dehydrated, you can, your bare minimum is about 400 milliliters a day. The obligatory water loss, that's just saying from extreme severe dehydration, 99.8% of water is reabsorbed, and that's required to excrete metabolic waste. Just showing you reabsorption, filtration, and so on. Water reabsorption relies on osmosis, and this is going to talk about the same thing we just talked about before. So I don't know if you guys want to go through it again. Do you?
No, it's the same thing. 85%, 20%, and then whatever it's the remaining, which is 15%, it's at 27 liters. That's the one that you can regulate depending on your needs.
Morgan, do you want to go over it? You think you can understand it? You want to go over it or no?
I don't want to like hold you guys back. Like I don't want to like make you feel like, it's
Okay.
repetitive. I could just watch her recording because I still haven't watched her lecture. So
Okay, yeah. No, I just wanted to make sure.
All right, so most bicarb is, so we looked at this. So most bicarb is reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule, and normal urine bicarb is usually very low, and that's normal. It's saying the same thing, same thing, same thing. This is showing you that going up on the ascending, like Morgan said, you're basically sending out sodium and chloride to basically make this outside here so that the water will come out because of the concentration gradient. So the water will move where the concentration is most highest. This is saying the same thing about that. And yes, same thing, same thing.
Did we talk about obligatory water loss?
That's basically where you're so dehydrated that you basically excrete only a very, very small percentage of your water. And it's basically the most concentrated your urine can be.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
What's the name of that?
Obligatory water loss, but I doubt she's gonna ask it.
Okay.
She said that just know that you can't stop urine output, but you can like reduce it. And there's so even though you can't stop it, there's just gonna be like a small amount that you need to excrete. I think that's what she said. Only,
400 milliliters.
yeah, it only occurs in instances of severe dehydration.
Yeah. Counter current flow, it just means that the flow is going two ways. She said you don't really need to know it. That's important. More so is extruded by the ascending limb so that it can dilute the outside of the nephron to allow for the water to come out. Same thing. The urea, the descending limb and the collecting duct are permissible to urea and allows for reabsorption. And this also contributes to the outside being a high osmolarity. Urea does. Oh, okay. Same thing.
Wait, I'm sorry. You were saying that urea contributes to a high osmolarity
Yeah,
inside?
outside.
Okay, thank you.
See right here?
Yes, I do. Thank you. That's the
Collecting duct.
okay, thank you.
In that ugly picture. It's all right. Thought it was ugly too. All right, Morgan, I'm putting you on the spot right now. You're on the spot. Now, Morgan, if I were to have, let's say I'm out in the desert, let's hope I never am, and I'm about to die because I'm dehydrated. I'm very dehydrated, but I'm okay for the most part. And what hormone would be in play? Like, if I need to, if that would stimulate my thirst, that's a key, and it's on the screen.
ADH. I didn't look at the screen, but I knew it was ADH. I was thinking either ADH or aldosterone, but aldosterone is salt and water retention, and you don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yes, you're correct. And where would it act? Like, what part of the nephron would it act?
I'm trying to think of the chart in my head.
It's not on the slide. Sorry. I wish it was.
No.
Write it. I could write it for you.
I want to say the collecting duct, but that's probably not right.
It's part of it.
Part of it.
One more part.
The
What's near it? What's near it?
it's on the tip of my, does it start with a P?
No.
There's like a general name for it. So like a general name for both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the far part, and that's far. Far is in like this is a D. Far.
Oh, the distal
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
proxim
No,
tubules
proximal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
or the distal convoluted tubule.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where the ADH is found.
Well, it
the 50%, it means that's the only one that could be regulated by hormones. So anything that is in the distal tubule or the collecting duct, that's the only part where hormones would take place. In no other place.
and
Okay.
how it does this, Morgan, is because it opens the aquaporons to allow for water to be reabsorbed. If the ADH is not present, it won't open those aquaporons.
Okay.
Okay.
So aquaporons are open when ADH increases, and when ADH decreases, aquaporons are not there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is cool.
Very cool. I think
So this just shows you what happens. So with ADH, you see how the water is reabsorbed back into the capillaries. Without ADH, there's nothing. So the concentration is the same. You can't see it, but right here, you see how it's 1200 milliosmoles if it's the water's reabsorbed, and it's 100 milliosmoles if the water is not reabsorbed. That's the dilution of the water. So if
what
it's
was the amount on the one over here in the one with ADH, because I can't see it.
with
it's
80
12
Why 12?
1200.
milliosmoles.
1200, it means there's a lot more solute than water.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's concentrated urine because all of the water is being taken out because
Oh,
it's
so it's more.
trying to trying to hydrate you.
So
So-
that helps me understand why in the picture above it was a 1200, because it means all the water by the time that it gets to the end of the loop of Henle, the majority of water has left, so it's more solute, it's more concentrated.
But then without ADH, you're gonna have like very diluted urine because none of the water is gonna leave. Like all the water is gonna stay inside, so it's very diluted and it's not concentrated.
Perfect.
All right.
These are good photos. I like these two little photos.
Oh, we're done
With that,
with that. Oh.
I'm so tired.
Yeah.
We've been going at this since like 4:30, guys. If you were in the lecture.
I was in a lecture, but I stopped at like after like at like the beginning of endocrine.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I did the whole thing.
Because I had to eat dinner, or I wouldn't be here.
Thank you for eating dinner, Olivia.
You're so welcome. I know it's hard.
Not
It
for
was-
you, it's for us.
I'm all sore all over. We've been working all day. All right, I'm still in my work clothes. If anyone wanted to know, if you were interested.
Where do you work? Do you do like tennis? Looks like you do something with tennis.
I want you to guess. All right.
I
Let me see.
don't say.
Bye.
Looks like you work like at a. It looks like you work at. What shoes are you wearing?
Well, I'll show you my work shoes.
You work like a. Oh shit! Wait, what? Those are kind of cute though. Where do you work? Where do you work that you wear boots?
Oh no!
Do you work with horses?
With horses, with horses.
I did.
I do. Yes, I do.
Once I saw it, I said horses.
It was the pants with the belt. At first, it looks like you work like at a tennis club or a country club or like golfing or something. But then you look at the tight, like tan pants with the belt, and you're like, "That's it. She works with horses." And
Yeah,
the boots too. And I'm like, "Wait, boots?" Oh,
Yeah.
that was actually pretty. I'm pretty proud of myself. I wish our exams were like that. I would do so good.
yeah. Lesson. Where does Olivia work? Well,
Based on like the pants and like the shoes and like the shirt, you gotta figure out where someone works.
Also, Instagram helps because automatically you think about that and you look at her pictures in your mind and you're like, horse, that, okay, horses.
Jocelyn's a realtor.
I'm like so much more proud of myself for getting that than understanding this information. I swear to God, I really am. I didn't think I was gonna get it. I was gonna say country club, but then I saw your pants. Actually, I was still gonna say country club, but I saw the boots and I was like, horses.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get back to it after that fun, amazing time. Okay, so the renal plasma clearance is basically the amount of the volume of plasma cleared of a substance per unit time, which doesn't make any sense ever. But basically, it's just the amount of substance that is excreted per unit time, just cleared of the plasma. The amount of a substance that's cleared from the plasma in a given amount of time. And this is done by the nephrons because that's what gets rid of it. And there's two things that we talk about in regards to this. First, so it's promoted by filtration. If it filters it, right, then it will basically remove it. So that will make it so it removes it to a higher extent. It's reduced by reabsorption because if it's reabsorbed, then it's going to take longer amount of time to get rid of it. It's increased basically by secretion, which just means that if more of it is put into the tubules via when it goes around, then it will be cleared faster. You got me? More of it will be cleared in a time. Okay? Okay? No?
Yeah.
Eat that
All right.
one.
Nope. Say nope, Morgan, nope. There's nothing makes sense. Okay, so this is the glomerulus. If it favors filtration, then it's gonna move it out. Okay. Reabsorption, it goes back in. So that's not good. To get rid of it, if it goes out, back into the into the capillaries, that's not good. If it comes back in via this, because it comes all the way around, if it goes back in to be excreted, then that's good because you'll get more of it out in a given time. Okay, so filtration, that's good. If you get it into the nephron, good. Reabsorption, not so good. If it goes back into the capillaries, it has to go all over again to get it out. Secretion is even better because it increases the amount of molecules in it to get out, to go. Okay, so if I have sodium, okay, and sodium gets pushed through, which is good, we like that, but it's reabsorbed because I don't have enough sodium. Then it has to go all the way around and come back again so I can get rid of it. Okay, now this is used to tell whether somebody's nephrons are working properly. And how we do it is the use of inulin. This is inulin right here. Wait, where's my little clicker thingy? I have a little button thingy. What color?
Red.
Red? Okay. Well, it's already red. That's lame. Okay, inulin. Oh, never mind. It's not red. It's not any color. Okay, red. It's inulin, and it can also be creatine, which I cannot spell. I'm just going to go CREATINE. Wow. It's something like that. Creatinine or creatine or whatever the hell, however you say it. And so inulin goes through and gets filtered 100%. Okay. And it's secreted 100%. And no inulin is reabsorbed. And none is put back in to the thing, because there's nothing that our body is making to put it back in, and it doesn't do anything because 100% of it is filtered. Okay, therefore, so based off those two things, and then also none of it is, what's the third one? No, I already talked about it. All of it's filtered the first time. None of it is secreted back into the nephron, and nothing is reabsorbed. So 100% of it should be excreted.
So GFR, it's gonna be equal to the clearance.
Yes.
Clearance? Is that the right
Yeah.
word?
Yes.
Okay.
So 100 milliliters per minute.
And the clearance is just what's going inside of the
I think it was excreted.
Yeah, it's excreted.
okay.
Okay, so now we have glucose. Glucose, 100% of it is filtered, which is good if we want to get rid of it. But a lot of stuff gets through. Now, we always need glucose unless we have a high, usually we always need glucose unless we're like exercising or other things like that. So what will happen is it will get reabsorbed. And this basically makes it so the clearance is 0 milliliters per minute because all of it is reabsorbed. You see how it makes it so that all of it's reabsorbed and put back into capillaries? Okay.
So the clearance is less than the GFR because it's less the amount that was excreted than the amount that it was filtered.
Yeah.
Okay.
In urea, okay, urea molecules, 100% of it's filtered. Okay, good. Now 50% of it's reabsorbed, which is okay. So 50% of the urea is excreted. Okay, so the clearance is 50 milliliters per minute.
Yeah, so say
Okay.
the clearance is going to be less than the GFR.
So in case of penicillin, that makes little to no sense, but okay, so I guess it's saying that it's filtered and some of it gets through, some of it doesn't, and then more of it gets secreted back into the nephron, right, from the capillaries, and then it gets excreted and none of it's reabsorbed.
With 150.
Well, if she puts think they're empty, it means it's nothing, it's being reabsorbed in the 3.
Yeah, so it's being
So-
filtered, which is good. It's being secreted, which increases the whatever
Well,
this is
100
called,
is
the clearance. So it increases the
Yeah.
clearance. So it basically makes it more than it is.
Yeah, because it says, if you see right next to it, it says out of the 100 milliliters, 0 penicillin, it's reabsorbed. So there's no reabsorption happening. That's what she's saying there. So it's
Yeah,
only being
reabsorption, and it's being secreted from the blood into the nephron.
so we're gonna
So
have
more of it's coming in from here,
and nothing is coming out.
and nothing is being reabsorbed.
So our
I
clearance
don't understand why it's this much, but apparently, so it says that the plasma concentration 4 at 100, whatever the hell.
It's weird. It should be like. That's weird.
So maybe it's like 400.
Yeah. Maybe it's more. That's what I think. And then 100 went into, I don't know, maybe.
No, maybe the cells are secreting some of the penicillin too.
But not. Yeah. No. Yeah. It is. They are.
I don't know. Whatever. I'm not gonna ask about this, so I don't care.
So the clearance is
Not
high.
gonna ask.
No, she's not gonna ask about this.
Specific detail?
Ask
No.
She'll ask about the inulin and the creatine. She'll ask about that, but she's not gonna ask about this because
I'm sorry. The creatine is the.
not gonna ask about it. She's gonna ask about those two things. I could probably give you, I mean, depending on her layout of like how many questions she's gonna ask on which topic, I could probably give you a layout what she's
But
gonna ask.
even if she asks about that, it's not gonna be the same answer because she has to tell us an like a scenario or something.
A scenario.
Scenario. Yeah. So it's not gonna be the same one that like we don't have to learn that one by heart, right? It's not like gonna be the same example. She's gonna put something.
Yeah.
Just know,
Olivia, is creatine has to do with glucose?
no. Creatinine is basically something that is not, your body doesn't use it and your body doesn't secrete it very well. It does, and it's very, very, very small amount. Something that's very, very small.
I'm sorry, can you just go back to the creatine page just so I can see it really quickly? That's inulin, so 100%, 100%.
Same thing. Same thing.
Yeah. And then
100% is filtered, 100% is excreted because nothing is reabsorbed and nothing is secreted from the outside.
no, that I know 100%.
But
Yeah.
that is a scenario. That doesn't necessarily mean that always that whenever we have inulin, it's gonna be 100%, right?
If it's not, that means that there's something wrong with the nephrons.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so usually 100% of inulin has to be secreted.
Yes. Well, no,
Oh.
excreted.
Excreted. And what about the creatinine? How
Same
much
100%.
has to be excreted too?
Yes. 100%.
Oh, that's good to know.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to bother. Can you go to the creatine one? Which one's creatine again?
That's inulin. Is inulin the same that creatinine? Yeah.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
same. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I thought
It's the same thing.
I'm so sorry. Okay, let's move on. I'm just gonna put myself on mute now.
Okay, so for secreted and filtered substances, if the clearance will exceed the GFR if it's secreted. You got me?
Yeah.
In instance of the penicillin, because it was put back in, right, from to more so from the capillaries. Okay.
Yeah.
And for reabsorbed substances, the clearance is going to be less than the GFR because it's put back into the capillaries, vice versa. Clinically, it's often estimated by creatinine or creatinine. And it's not exact, it's secreted in very small amounts, like I said, but usually it's secreted 100%, maybe like a little bit more because it's secreted a little tiny bit. All right. Glucose reabsorption, it's most likely reabsorbed, except in following a high carb meal.
Uy! Rom, mamacita.
So, why? She's a red, why?
She's Indian. Don't
I'm not discriminating. Like, why? Why is whatever? I don't get it. Okay. Like, I don't know.
This is my
I can't.
I don't get that, but it's a fine, whatever. Like, I feel like they're discriminating. Okay. What are they saying? You know?
She could just have a pimple, guys.
That would be it.
It's a hormonal thing.
dark red pimple. Like dark. She's definitely Indian. For sure.
I was gonna say that.
You don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I'm so, I don't know.
Say it. I'm glad.
It's part of their religion or something.
Get out of my brain, Emily. This is the third time I tell you. Every time I think she says it out loud.
I am telling you.
And well, she didn't really go into this, so I'm not going to. Yeah, done. All right. So, water is essential. Drink water.
But don't drink that much because I just found out today that if you drink too much, you die.
I did not know that.
You can drown yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't believe I could die by drinking water.
I can't either. All right. So, blood volume, pressure regulation by the osmoreceptors, right? If the osmoreceptors are stimulated, then this causes the aldosterone renin system to be like, or the angiotensin system to be like, okay, we need to turn on, which renin, the whole system. I don't remember really. Do I need to know that?
We
So-
do need to know. We
Wait,
do
wait.
need to know about the raining and the stuff. We do need to know.
Not the RAA system.
I
Just
think it will help you. Like if you remember that one, which it wasn't that hard. Like once we see it once, we're gonna remember the whole thing.
like
And so it's
just
so
know-
it's what is it? So it's renin is converted into angiotensin 1. Angiotensin goes throughout the body. Then there's an enzyme that turns on
So
it in
angiotensin one
lungs.
nothing. It
What?
just transformed, I think, in the lungs. I don't know where it was. It gets transformed into angiotensin 2.
Yeah, angiotensin 2 and angiotensin 2, that's what does stuff. Not like I know anything else by that, but yeah.
the aldosterone
I don't
is
even remember what was that.
aldosterone is gonna be like
Doesn't
activated.
that whole thing cause an increase in blood pressure? Like that's just like
Blood
the
volume and
That's
blood. Yeah,
It's
that's
to elevate blood pressure.
and
blood-
vasoconstricts, stuff like that.
yeah, that's why when it's like when they're talking about aldosterone and like we were talking about dehydration, hydration, that's really associated with ADH. So when you're talking about aldosterone, it's usually putting like water and stuff back into the capillaries to increase blood volume, which increases blood pressure.
Yeah, and it stimulates, and well, it does stimulate thirst, and it constricts blood vessels to increase blood pressure, and it puts salt out so that
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when you think about aldosterone, think of trying to increase like usually it has to do with increasing like blood pressure, blood volume and blood pressure and stuff. And that's why you associate ADH with the hydration and the dehydration.
okay. So total water body is approximately 60%. It variations. Intracellular fluid is about 65%, where extracellular fluid is about 35%, and a lot of this is in the tissue or interstitial fluid. Yeah. She didn't really talk about this today. She just said that we gain and lose water every day, and this is it basically depends on your environment and your physical activity. That's the biggest thing. Oh, wow, it's wonderful. Okay.
Okay, can I
And
say something?
yeah,
I looked it up. It says, okay, whenever you're dehydrated, what happens? It decreases, or you have an hemorrhage, it decreases your blood volume and it decreases your blood pressure. What happens next? The kidneys go ahead and release renin. Renin goes to the liver and becomes angiotensin. Angiotensin gets converted into angiotensin 1, goes to the lungs, and we have ACE. It's what converts angiotensin, the angiotensin converting enzyme, ACE in the lungs, converts angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. That goes ahead and goes to the adrenal cortex, increases aldosterone, and then in the kidneys, sodium and water reabsorption occur and increases secretion of potassium and hydrogen into the urine, increases the blood volume, and then the blood pressure increases as well, just getting back to normal, and then vasoconstriction of arterioles. That's like the ORAA pathway.
okay. All right, thank you. Perfect. It works. So it's just showing you that in a hypotonic solution, water is going to want to go into the cell, and in a hypertonic solution, blood's going to want to, or the fluid's going to want to come out of the cell. Right?
Wait, say that again. Sorry.
In a hypertonic solution, I thought it swells. Hypertonic swells. Oh, yes. So in a
Hypotonic.
yeah, I got it. In a hypotonic solution, the water is going to want to go into the cell. In a hypertonic solution, water is going to want to come out of the cell.
Why? Isn't hypertonic referring that the water it's outside and then it's a lot of water inside and the other one will shrink?
So when you put a cell in a hypotonic solution, the cell will swell.
Shrink.
No, swell.
Why?
Hypertonic solution, it causes
Hyper, it's a lot. So it means there's more water outside.
hypo means in, so water will go in. Hyper means out, water.
Out. Yeah, so hypertonic will shrink the cell, hypotonic will swell.
No.
Yeah, you just said
Hy-
it.
oh.
Hyper out. So if water goes out of the
Sorry,
cell,
yeah, hyper out, hypo in. Yes.
because what it's referring to, it's not about the cell, it's referring about the water outside, because that's the one that I got wrong in the test. So I remember hypertonic, it's referring that the outside it's gonna have a lot more water, so the cell is gonna shrink. Right, Sadie? Is that the one? Is that how it was?
Yeah, that's
Actually how it is. Yeah,
I can't hear you.
that's how it is.
Oh, I can't hear you. Like I know you're talking, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now yes.
Okay. So basically, the water is gonna move out of the cell, so it's gonna make the cell to shrink because it's leaving the cell. Mhm.
Yeah, I remember we were going over that one and I got that one wrong by mistake.
Yeah. I remember that one too.
Yeah.
the regulation of thirst is in the hypothalamus in response to signs of dehydration, and this basically stimulates ADH to be secreted, which allows for reabsorption in the distal portion of the nephron, and this also stimulates your thirst. And it also stimulated by angiotensin 2, ADH, osmoreceptors, which osmoreceptors respond to the pressure decreases of the blood pressure. And blood loss will also stimulate thirst because it wants to replace the blood that you've lost.
Sorry, what is the regulation of thirst? What was it again?
Regulation thirst, there's a thirst center in the hypothalamus, and it responds to signs of dehydration by stimulating, basically by sending out the hormone angiotensin 2. It's the whole system, the RA system, and ADH.
And what are the osmoreceptors again that regulates like the
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry.
They regulate pressure, blood pressure.
Oh,
Osmoreceptors?
Yes.
osmoreceptors.
Oh, yes, it's the osmolarity of the blood. Sorry.
Osmolarity of the. How would that go?
The baroreceptors regulate the pressure. The osmoreceptors regulate the osmolarity.
So how would that tie in with the
So
ADH?
if the blood has high solute to solvent concentration, then this would stimulate the hypothalamus to start up the ADH, basically to allow for more reabsorption of water and stimulate the thirst.
So the osmoreceptors had to do with the water, basically. So it has to do with the ADH and the aldosterone, which are the ones that regulate water, right? So what's the other one that you said? It's not osmoreceptor,
The baroreceptors regulate pressure, but I'm not going to talk about that, but we did talk about that before. Baroreceptors, they regulate the pressure, the blood pressure. And I don't remember much. My brain is like.
I can't remember about baroreceptors. I remember I just studied recently, but I can't remember that.
So you're saying if the solute is higher in the blood, then the water is gonna move towards the capillary.
Yeah, if you have a lot more water, you're gonna excrete it. If you have less, you're gonna activate ADH and then try to.
I'm confused with how it ties in with the osmoreceptors, but I'll get it.
So osmoreceptors, so basically if they basically respond to an increase of the osmolarity of the blood. So an increase in osmolarity means the increase of solutes in the blood compared to solvent. And if there's an increase of solutes in the blood, this stimulates ADH because ADH doesn't have anything to do with sodium. It is only water. So if you have a higher solvents in the or solutes in the blood, you don't want any more solutes. So you're only going to stimulate the antidiuretic hormone to allow for the reabsorption of water, not solutes, which is what angiotensin 2 does. It reabsorbs sodium, and you don't want sodium if you already have high solute concentration. Did that make any sense?
Yeah, it made total sense. That was what I wanted. Respond to the increase of solutes in the blood. Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect.
Phosphoreceptors respond to increase of solute, not water, or both.
No, just it responds to solutes because it'll only move water.
Okay.
All right, just showing you all the stuff. But let's talk about it because it's basically everything we're going to talk about. So it activates the SNS, the sympathetic nervous system, to act on the salivary glands to decrease secretion, and it provides the urge to drink, because if you have dry mouth, you're like, oh, my mouth's so chalky, I need to drink something, right? I mean, you never think about that. And look at her, Emily's drinking. That's great. Well done. Good. Good. Okay. And this is basically just shows you that dry mouth, sense of thirst, ingesting the water cools and moistens the mouth and rehydrates blood, descends stomach and intestine, short-term inhibition of thirst, and long, well, who cares? But basically, it's just saying dehydration, then your hypothalamus will be like, yo, you got to get on this. It stimulates the thirst center in the hypothalamus to reduce. It reduces salivation, which causes dry mouth, which enhances the sense of thirst, and it also does other things like in your body, like reabsorb water and all that stuff, constrict blood vessels, things like that. This just says what we said before. So, fluid deficiency. Output exceeds intake for a long period of time. Fluid volume depletion and dehydration. So, water and sodium are lost without replacement. Total water body declines. Osmolarity doesn't change; it remains normal. So that you're losing both sodium and water at the same time, and this can happen in hemorrhage, severe burns, chronic vomiting, or diarrhea, which I doubt she's going to ask about that. But she is going to ask about dehydration. I'm going to most definitely think that she will. Body eliminates more water than sodium. The extracellular fluid osmolarity increases because of the fact is that there's more solutes than solvent, which is the water. Lack of drinking water, stranded at sea, that could be a cause. Also diabetes, ADH, hyposecretion, profuse sweating, and diuretic overuse. Infants are more vulnerable than adults because the kidneys aren't fully mature, which means that they lose more water than adults. And that's why when you have little kids, they pee so much. All right. That's great. Baxter, feel it. 1 second, guys. Sorry, my dog would not get up. All right. Here we go. That's about it. Less common response is just to what? Really? Your body would just excrete more urine? That's so weird.
Yeah, usually you don't have like fluid excess because constantly.
Oh, we're talking about excess. I was like, I don't understand. I was like, I don't get that. How could it be?
She said that usually we're usually in a state of like dehydration, like.
No, she says that we're in the middle. Like we're never gonna be like dehydrated or like overhydrated. She says like most people are just in the middle. So it's less common when someone is like overhydrated. It happens, but it's less
A
common.
lot of people get dehydrated. Right? I feel like a lot of people don't drink enough water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, including me. Like I'm dehydrated right now. I can tell.
Me
like,
too. Do you see like most of the time you put in lipstick? That's because my lips are it's like always dehydrated and
That's all right.
lipstick is not gonna help it. I just have to drink water and I have this right next to me.
If you just buy yourself like one of these water bottles, you just like continue to drink it all day long.
I find it so no, because I've never told I talk about it often, but I have the bladder of a squirrel, and I swear if I drink, it's just horrible. It's like every 2 minutes.
That's awful.
Yeah, no, it really is. It really is horrible, and I just hate it. It just runs in my family. Like my mom and my grandma, like they can't even especially my grandma, she can't even like travel anymore like much, or she doesn't like to because she has to stop like every 5 minutes to go to the
I can't imagine them when they were pregnant.
You better beware, Olivia, when you
Probably put a pamper on if I don't want to get up.
I used to pee so much when I was pregnant. It was crazy. Like I couldn't hold it. It was so annoying.
Yeah,
Like
my mom.
one time I was leaving school and I had to stop at a gas station. Like in that, I feel like that's so nasty, like peeing out there and at a gas station. I had to stop because I almost cried because I couldn't hold anymore.
Oh my God. I think every day more and more I learn more things about pregnancy, and I'm just like,
Emily,
every
no.
day I learn something new, and I'm just like,
But you get so spoiled. Like when you're pregnant, you get so spoiled.
I love it.
Like it was my best time. Being pregnant was my best time.
Yeah, I get
I
spoiled now, just in general. I can't imagine if I got pregnant.
I never had any cravings during pregnancy. Like never. I didn't crave anything, but I would lie about it so that I would get it. Like I would lie that I wanted sushi, like like well cooked sushi and chocolate and ice cream, but I wasn't really craving it. I just wanted it.
So fun.
But it's so fun.
Thank you for the
Don't
tip.
say it in front of your boyfriend. Don't let her hear it.
In case you want to have another one.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't tell
Then
me.
you
Not
baby,
yet,
you're
not
actually
yet.
craving, and then he's not gonna believe you now, and you're gonna be upset and cry.
I literally can't imagine, like, if I was pregnant, I would get so spoiled. Like, oh my God, because my boyfriend's mom, she sent me like this thing to put around my head because I get really bad headaches, like bad migraines. And she literally sent me an Amazon package for like to wrap this thing around my head for migraines and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, if I got pregnant, I would literally just be like a queen sitting on a throne, just like sitting there, and everybody just bringing me things and sending me things,
Including me.
including you, yes, including everyone be on top of me.
Olivia,
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I'm
We
not
need
giving,
little breaks sometimes.
we're not giving up.
Sorry.
It was a little.
That's a little break. We're ready.
All right, two types: volume access and hypotonic hydration. Volume access, the sodium and water retained in the ECF remains isotonic. Aldosterone hyposecretion or renal failure just means that you have more fluid than you are excreting, and that's partly because either you're keep retaining the sodium, either your aldosterone, that whole system is keep hypersecreting to allow for more sodium, or renal failure because you're failing to get rid of the water buildup and you're basically excrete the water.
What does
Okay.
ECF stands for?
Extracellular interstitial fluid or something like that.
Extracellular fluid.
No, yeah, extracellular fluid. Sorry. When you add a different word, another word that is totally different in there, just why not?
You help me understand.
You know what? I tried, and that's what counts. All right. Hypotonic hydration, aka water intoxication. There's more water than sodium or ingested. ECF becomes hypotonic, which water will basically go out. Yeah, it will go out of the extracellular fluid and come into the intracellular fluid, right? Right?
What?
No.
What
It
was
becomes hypotonic.
Hypotonic.
So
it goes
water would go
into
back
the
into the
cell.
cell. It goes back in the cell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this
Close the cells, which is which is what causes the problem, and that could cause cerebral edema or
Or
pulmonary.
it's gonna be retained.
Yeah, because the cells are swelling, so that's what will cause later on cerebral edema or pulmonary edema and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe I remembered that.
And that is what it is.
Good
And
shit.
third
Why
space,
would we get water intoxication?
if you drink a whole crap ton of water without replacing any of the electrolytes you need. So my nutrition teacher said it's very rare, but it does happen, especially in major athletes, and if they don't drink any like Gatorade or anything. She told me that if you really wanted to, like all that guy who drank, she gave an example of that guy who drank so much water at
Yeah.
that competition. All they needed to do to prevent that was put a little bit of sugar and a
And
little bit of sodium, like the molecule, like that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And
Just
then
a little bit, and he would be alive. That's it.
would they
So
sue
stupid.
for that? Did they get sued or no?
Probably. They should have had a nutritionist. They should have figured it out. I'm sorry, but if
Is it I think I got it. The hypotonic hydration is you drink a lot of water, and what's happening, you're gonna be diluting all the solutes.
yes,
Isn't that beautiful?
that's the most beautiful I've ever seen in my life. Jocelyn, seen anything more beautiful?
Mhm.
Heard anything more
It's
beautiful?
hypotonic because all the water is going to the cell.
Yes, and basically swelling it, and it causes lysis. Remember, if it fills too much, it will cause lysis, and it causes cerebral edema, and cerebral edema is really bad, and that's why they put the the stuff in there and makes all that stuff hypertonic, all this stuff. It's great. But sometimes they can't prevent it because people are so stupid, and we try, but you can't fix stupid, everyone. I just have to tell you. Anyways.
And honestly, I think all of us are always gonna not know things. Like there's so many things in the world that you're never gonna know. Like us, we're here in nursing, and there's a lot of things we're learning every day. Like I didn't know once you're pregnant that you're not gonna be able to eat sushi or a lot of things. And can you believe that pineapple is abortive? Like who in the world thinks that pineapple is something that could be really, really abortive? Like there's nothing in the world that tells you. And I'm very old in age. I'm not 15 years old, and I just learned it a couple of months ago. Like
Did
there's
not know.
yeah, there's many things that you like. How are you gonna know? Nobody tells you.
Yeah, that's why you gotta ask.
Yeah.
But nobody's gonna know about pineapple. That's such a minute.
Apple, like once you're pregnant, what is the first thing you think about? You have to eat a lot of fruits. Pineapple is a fruit. Fine. Moving on.
I'm trying to think about what I think. I just think about money. That's all I think about. Oh, I just see the cash sign everywhere. Just.
Ding, ding.
Anyways, okay. Third spacing, the accumulation of fluid in an area normally devoid of fluid, including burns, blisters, things like that. You'll see a buildup of fluid. Yeah, it's disgusting. It is okay. Ascites, which just means edema. I don't know. Is that what that means?
Which one means edema? Fluid sequestration? Sequestration?
I don't know.
Yes, because you can have like edema in certain areas.
That you're not supposed to have edema.
What does edema mean?
Buildup of water where it's not supposed to be. It's just like water.
Water where it's not supposed to be.
But it also can be like, I don't know, swelling, inflammation. Inflammation is the swelling. Is edema's water.
I'm thinking like if I feel like if you hurt yourself, yeah, like if you sprain your ankle or something, like and your ankle swells, that's like edema. You have inflammation.
Mhm.
Swelling is edema.
Yeah, swelling is edema. So anywhere where you injure yourself, that would be like edema.
Okay.
Yeah.
Third Spacing. Relation of
Okay,
flow.
so control of the sodium potassium balance. Aldosterone, it's the most sodium is reabsorbed prior to the distal convoluted tubule. And how it does this is it's regulated by the sodium potassium pump, but it's not even just potassium, it's potassium and hydrogen. And they basically compete for the place on the pump. Okay, so if there's more hydrogen, then more hydrogen will go. If there's more potassium will go. Although the sodium reabsorption, it in aldosterone sense, if we don't have this, then we could die, because it only represents 2%, but it's extremely important. So how it does this is,
The whole process, sorry, it's the RAA. That's the whole process.
yeah,
RAA.
So
Okay.
most sodium reabsorption occurs prior to the distal convoluted tube, and that's why once it does get to the distal convoluted tube, aldosterone only does 2% reabsorption.
yes.
Just double checking. Confused.
So it's a steroid hormone, which results in production of the NAKH ATPs pump, where sodium moves out and either potassium or hydrogen moves into the tubule to be excreted. Here it is. And like Emily said, most of it's reabsorbed early in the nephron. That's why only 2% is, this only requires 2%. And yeah, and this just shows you we don't need to look at that. So hypernemia.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Hypernatremia.
I had a quick question. The
Yeah.
maximal aldosterone secretion happens in the distal nephron.
Yes.
I can start like quickly saying that and then moving on.
Yes. Hypernemia. I don't know.
Hypernatremia. You don't know.
What does that say?
Hypernatremia
Hyper,
and hyponatremia.
that has to deal with salt. So if you have an excess of salt, then you want to get rid of it. If you have below that amount, then your body will reabsorb it. And hypercapnia is the excess of potassium? No.
I'm trying to find it.
What was it again? What do you
No,
say?
hyperchemia.
Okay,
It's
so
potassium. Yeah, it's potassium.
it's potassium.
Potassium.
Yeah,
Where's that
so
from?
hyperchemia.
Kalemia. Kalemia.
Okay.
Hyperkalemia.
Hyperkalemia. Yeah.
High potassium solutions are used for animal. It's potassium. Yeah, it's high potassium. And so what she
Yeah.
was right, so she was saying like you'll have either
I have it in notes.
you'll either, oh my god, I'm like completely forgetting what she said.
I have it in notes. I'm trying to find
What's
it.
Oh, I have it. No, I have it. I know what it is. I just hyperkalemia is the excess of potassium. And if you have an excess of potassium, this means that there's going to be more potassium loaded onto that pump to get it out into the tubules. And this is acidity. It has a lot of acidity, so it can cause acidosis, but not so that it's acidosis, but it causes the buildup of hydrogen ions out in the capillaries, because this is one of the ways that the way that the hydrogen get out. So if there's a high amount of potassium, this means that there's not going to be enough spaces for the hydrogen to get put on, so it can cause acidity in the blood because of the excess amount of hydrogen ions.
I think what I was trying to say is that like it causes like the abnormal activity, like you'll have either a lot of hyperpolarization or depolarization. So you were saying like it'll go up and down and it's abnormal.
Yes, because potassium Potassium, it contributes to the resting membrane potential and, the sodium potassium pump, and it allows for, if you don't have a gradient, or if the gradient's all messed up, then this could make it so that it's harder to get the threshold, or it's closer to threshold, excuse me, because of the fact that potassium makes the cell more positive or something like that. Not like I really remember, but you don't need to know that necessarily. But what you do need to know is that potassium and hydrogen compete for the same pump. So if there's more potassium, then more potassium will be loaded onto that pump and less hydrogen will. And this causes acidosis because of the buildup of hydrogen ions in the blood.
Compete for the
Okay?
So the hypernatremia, it's an excess on
Sodium.
so sodium levels are high. And then if we have the hyponatremia, it's sodium levels low.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I want you to get in your head is that hyperkalemia causes acidosis over time because of the fact that when you have an excess of potassium ions, the potassium ions will bind to the receptors instead of the hydrogen ions. And this will cause a buildup of hydrogen ions in the blood, and this can cause acidosis. Now,
What type of acidosis?
in alcohol, what?
What type
What'd
of acidosis do you think it could be?
It would just be its own.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like respiratory or mental, just acidosis. Okay.
No, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask her.
Okay.
I don't know. So in respiratory acidosis over a long period of time, this would cause hypocapnia, which would make sense. Because if you have an excess of hydrogen ions and you need to get rid of them, what's going to happen? The hydrogen ions are going to bind to the receptor, right? Instead of the potassium, and this can cause hypercapnia. Sorry, hypercapnia. I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. Yeah, thank you. It would cause hypercapnia because of the buildup of calcium. Calcium, where do I get calcium? Potassium. And in alkalosis over time, this can cause hypokalemia because hypokalemia because if there's less if there's less hydrogen ions, there's going to be more potassium ions will be loaded on to the pump instead of the hydrogen, and this will cause less potassium over time.
Less or more? Oh, less. Okay.
Okay. Whew, a lot of talking.
But why less?
Well, because over time, and because the hydrogen, because you need hydrogen, and what it will do is because there's less hydrogen than potassium, then they're going to bind the potassium because there's more there. And if it binds more potassium over time, this will cause hyperkalemia or kalemia, and my gosh, I'm keep saying wrong one, hypokalemia, because it will there'll be less potassium ions over time because they're being excreted.
I always would have think that if I have alkalosis, it means that I have less hydrogen atoms. So if I have less, it means that I'm gonna be excreting more of the hydrogen, and then we're gonna have a lot more potassium, and that a lot more potassium wouldn't cause hyperkalemia, which is the elevation of the potassium levels because they're accumulating.
No, it wouldn't cause. No. They wouldn't be accumulating because they would be because if you have two things, if you had low hydrogen ions, there's going to be more potassium ions. Okay.
Oh,
If there's more potassium,
less
yes,
hydrogen. Got it.
yes,
Yeah, sorry.
yes. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. Are we good here? Do we need? We're good.
But, so basically, the hyperkalemia causes acidosis because the pump is being taken up by the potassium to move it out of the blood and into the tubules, so there's a buildup of hydrogen. Right?
Yes.
So it's all about
Yes.
because it's being taken up, like the receptors are being taken up by either potassium or hydrogen, like that's going to determine what's being built up in the blood.
Yes.
Whatever is taking over the receptors, the other one will be building up.
And also in the case of alkalosis, over time it depletes both potassium and hydrogen is also depleted too.
So if you have alkalosis, which is a decreased amount of hydrogen in the blood, then you're going to have a decreased amount of potassium, is what you're saying?
Yes, because of this pump, because of the fact that potassium, if it's normal, right? If potassium is normal and the hydrogen is lower, it's going to keep taking the potassium over and over and over again until they're both depleted.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is located on the late distal tubule and the early collecting duct. So she just wants you to know that kidneys can excrete the excess hydrogen and get it out, and most bicarbonate is reabsorbed, and hydrogen is usually present in urine, and that what kind of makes it slightly acidic. Yeah, she didn't really talk about this. Urinary buffers. What'd she say about this?
Bicarbonate? A urinary buffer would be bicarbonate. Let me see.
I don't remember her going over urinary buffer.
I don't think she went over this.
Skipped urinary buffer. She skipped summary. She skipped urinary buffer.
So she went over this again. Do you guys want to go over this again?
No.
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 What was it on the proximal tubule side? She said something on that one, the one you were just on?
This one?
No, keep going back.
The proximal tubule.
Did she say something about that? Just that the proximal tubule reabsorbs most bicarbonate?
If you get a question that's like, what does this do, or where does this is most absorbed, unless you're talking about sodium, it's going to be the proximal tubule.
What about sodium? Sodium will be reabsorbed in the distal, right?
It would be the ascending lobe, or ascending.
The loop of Henle.
Limb.
Yeah, the ascending limb of the.
Loop of Henle.
Yeah, it'd be that one.
So sodium, it's most reabsorbed in the loop of Henle.
Well, at the ascending loop of Henle.
Ascending, yeah, it's in there. Okay.
Because in the descending, it's not absorbed.
So it's in the ascending.
Yes.
Okay. Sodium.
It's also absorbed depending in the distal portion of the.
What does send the proximal tubule where most reabsorption occur? I think that they're gonna have a little bit of everything, but at the end, like the most reabsorption, it's gonna
be the proximal tubule. Yeah.
Yeah, proximal. Okay.
You guys want to do this again?
No.
Okay,
We're done?
we're done.
Yay!
Can we do the Kahoot if you have it?
No.
Oh my word, it's 11:43. Fine, okay.
I
All
don't
right.
have 5.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, I do want to do something.
Emily.
The Kahoot right now.
Yeah, even if we get it wrong, it's amazing.
On this.
It's a game. It's rewarding
My
ourselves.
self-esteem is gonna be so low after this.
Oh,
Listen,
really? We're gonna do it?
I
Okay,
don't know.
let's do it. Can I play? I'm gonna play too. I want to play.
I'm gonna play and I don't know shit, but hey.
I feel so lost with physiology. I just need a review and stuff. I just think I'm burnt out.
I lost you. I thought you were gone, Morgan.
No, I'm here. I was just listening, trying to, you know.
Good
Do
night.
Kahoot. Do I have to download like a
No.
game?
No, just go on kahoot.it on like your Safari
Oh no, that it.
page.
Can you send me the like? How can I go to that Kahoot like myself? Is it public or is it private?
That's public.
It's
It's
public.
Yeah.
What can I look up for it?
It's on the group chat. I posted all of them.
Oh, you did? Okay, perfect. Because I think I'm-
Recently or no? Or a long time ago?
Like, I don't know.
If you go on the group chat and go under links and you just
Oh,
click-
link. Okay.
yeah, it'll all of them will be there.
Perfect.
Which one you want to do, guys?
A ver. Ay, Dios mío. What's the hardest one? Like for everybody.
I don't think digestive and heart's gonna be on it.
Okay, so not that one. Okay.
This one would be like. We haven't done
I
integument.
swear to God, if you post an ugly picture of me,
I swear. I swear. I said the same thing.
you
I was
got me slipping in the corner.
Wait, let me check. I didn't look at your faces.
oh my god.
I just focused on me. I'm sorry.
What did she
now.
put?
It's
Delete
okay. I
it.
don't care.
I want to see it. What
That's
happened?
so funny. I literally
No.
look
I
awful.
can't see anything. What's going on?
No. I'm gonna delete it because not even
let me see
Jocelyn
it
looks
first.
right.
Oh, send it to me. I want to see my face, please.
Oh my God, Zadie, no.
Look
You
at
can see your face, like you can
To me,
see.
Sadie.
look at Olivia's face. She's like,
Well, how do you
Yeah,
see?
let me delete it before everyone
You
sees
see
it.
anybody's face? Where you guys see it? I don't see anything.
Delete it.
But
Delete
where
it.
do you send it, Sadie? Send it to me.
I'm gonna save it and then I'm gonna send it to you. But
Yeah,
I'm
send-
gonna delete it.
and then you can retake another one.
Delete it.
But where did you post it that everybody could see it?
On Instagram.
Instagram.
On Instagram.
She posted on her story.
Did you, Sadie? I'm laughing so much. Did you?
But like I'm so sleepy that I didn't even look at anyone's faces.
It was so funny.
Oh, you deleted it.
I saw that
Yeah,
and
but I'm gonna well, only 100 people saw it.
yeah, right. I'm like, you literally posted it 2 seconds ago.
No. No.
Okay, I took it out.
Thank God.
Oh, you don't even see me. I'm just looking down.
So do you want to play this one or the other one? Or do you want to play the girl one again?
No, no, this one. No. That one, no. That one's not on the
No, the one with the brain, the neurons.
The nervous system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that one's not it. That's a digestive and heart anatomy.
No, I not this
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Do you want to do this one? This one? This one?
The
Or
one that we just did, I think.
this one?
It's a
We
nerve.
could do it again.
Yeah, we could. I haven't played it.
It's at the same one that we just did.
We
Yeah.
did that one last time.
The central nervous system, the brain, spinal cord nerve.
Oh, that one's hard.
It really is. And I
I know.
I feel like
probably
she's
That
gonna
one, let's
ask
do
a
that
good
one.
amount
Yes,
of
let's do
questions.
that one because I don't know any about the cranial stuff. So I'll
So the-
probably stress. Yeah, let's do that one.
Okay. My gosh, it wasn't. We did teach.
Where's the pin?
Oh my gosh, what if you put them in breakout rooms? It's so low. Oh gosh, please stop. Someone got logged off or they left?
Emily went to sleep.
Oh.
Went to sleep.
Sleep is for losers. Just kidding. I don't have to do anything tomorrow morning. I'm all sleepy.
No, I'm gonna study.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to stay up tonight and study a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna study.
Oh, they have new emojis.
Forgot how to do.
Okay, so can everybody
Go to Kahoot. Got it. Got.
get pretty?
Oh gosh, you're taking the picture.
3, 2, 1. Sadie, show me your teeth.
Wait, I'm low.
Are you taking a picture?
I'm taking a picture. 3, 2, 1. Got it. I'm gonna put it on Instagram.
Yeah, that was horrible.
It's really
Yeah,
pretty.
that was horrible.
We're all gonna look just so sleep deprived.
Oh, we look so pretty.
We are sleep deprived.
I mean, Morgan, and
Who's O?
Olivia and Sadie.
Oh, Olivia.
What are the emojis?
I'm O. I think my computer's about to die because of the amount of tabs I have open right now.
Plug it in.
I think it's that. No, it's in. I think that's it. I think that's all of us.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in.
All right. Well, this is sad.
It's okay, we got this.
I don't know anything, so I'll be last, but it's fine.
I can't see the question because yay. We're all gonna be on the podium at all times. So that's
Oh my gosh, I can't see it.
Peripheral nervous system. I don't even remember about the freaking peripheral nervous system.
Okay.
The answer, like I'm so sleepy that
I know.
I don't remember, so I
Yeah,
didn't.
it's the motor and sensory system.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
Do you want to turn off the recording?
Yeah, that would be good.
We're all sitting in silence, like trying to answer.